Hello, welcome to the Bravery One British Open 2019. Nathan Prescott, how are you?
I'm good, sir, and you?
Oh, I can't wait. Right, look, so we're going to jump straight into this because it's getting real.
Yeah.
It's getting real. So on the first game, the game that we are going to show, game 3 of the Bravery One British Open. This is table 1. So this is 2 people that could potentially win the event. And we've got Mr. Joe Purcell, a man who we saw potentially win the South Coast T one time. Sort of, but didn't do it. Against a man who's only lost with this army once in his professional career. That's right, Mr. Ben Saville with the Daughters of Khaine. That's what we're going to see. Now, both these 2 players, we're going to look at the armies in a minute. We've got some photos of the army. They're beautiful, both painted by Ben, actually. They're gorgeous. But this is massive because it's new Hedonites of Slaanesh versus Daughters of Khaine. And why this becomes really important, they're both a 5-drop army. So rolling off, now normally we do all the setup beforehand, but when you roll off to choose the side, that's going to determine who then deploys first, which means it's going to decide who gets to go first. So we're going to cut to our dice roll cam, we're going to see whoever wins the roll off, basically. So here we go.
Yeah,
Ben and Joe. Joe on the left, Ben on the right. That's what Mr. Ben Saville looks like. Some people say that he's a fashion model. Joe's an accountant. Oh, Ben's got it! They played up for the camera.
Joe wins the Oscars and would like to thank his mother and God and all of his brothers, but fuck off to everybody else.
So they're going to get to now. They're going to pick sides and do deployment. But why that's really big is it means that Ben's going to get to be the person who decides who to go first. Yeah, and that's huge, right, Nath?
Yeah, definitely. It gives you the opportunity to drive the game from the beginning, really. So it's pretty important, especially at this level of the game. Well, I mean, particularly Ben's a really good player. Joe's fairly mediocre. So
Joe is the definition of mediocre. Yeah, listen, he's one of the nicest guys ever. We had a great time at his wedding.
We did have a great
time.
Wow.
Yeah, we had the bestest of times. Yeah. We both unfortunately got pepper sprayed, but that's a different conversation, right? That was a tough time for us, but it was a wonderful experience. And Joe's a wonderful guy as a member of the hobby.
He's great.
And what's really cool is Ben is this just phenomenal painter and gamer. And he's got this Daughters of Khaine army. So, and this Daughters of Khaine army is what's really interesting. If we go to the lists on the website, I've got it here now in the chat, and I'll put it in the chat for you guys. As you can see, he hasn't actually updated it for like 6 months, and it's still an absolute face-kicking list.
Yeah. I mean, this is the list that has been putting the Daughters of Khaine into the top tiers in the UK scene. Definitely.
Yeah.
He's won quite a few tournaments with it. He's got quite a few podiums. It's just been having a great time with these guys.
He has, but, and this is really, really, really important, he is up against Joe with his brand new Hedonites to Slaanesh list. And Daughters of Khaine are obviously solid, when it comes competitively, but they haven't had many in the field run-ins with the Hedonites to Slaanesh on the new build.
Nobody has really, but they're looking pretty tasty. I think the Hedonites are going to be a real force in the next few months.
They're especially a force in the terms of the haves and the have-nots.
Definitely, they've got in the Always Strikes First wars or whatever you want to call them.
The activation wars.
Them things. They're pretty happy with that situation. They've got great ways to be able to do Always Striking First. So pretty scary in that, and then also they're pretty good so far from what I've seen at being able to summon stuff. So that means they've got the points efficiency really. It's just built into the army in their allegiance ability. So happy days.
Absolutely. So it's all about summoning realistically. I've already heard some stories or some horror stories actually over the weekend. I was speaking to Darren earlier. He summoned 900 points in by his third turn in one of his games. What the advantage Ben has against Joe's army, as an example, is because the way depravity points work for Slaanesh is for every wound that you cause that doesn't slay a model. So multi-wound models are brilliant. So when you're playing against ogres, you're laughing. But when you're playing against single wound witch elves that have a 4-up save and a 5-up ignore rerollable save immune to battle shock, it becomes a lot more tense and tough to do. So he's not going to have as many opportunities for summoning, and he doesn't. And I said this before when we talked about Slaanesh. They don't fly. They're not going to jump over screens. They're not going to drop. They can't. They're not going to be able to get out. And the way to break down a Daughters of Khaine army is to get its supporting pieces. And he's just not going to have. He's not going to have the tools initially to do so.
Yeah. I mean, you've got the width with them, so you can go around a lot of stuff because they are super fast. But it does mean your opponent will have to play really carefully with their streams. And then also, the Hedonites have got the ability to pile in and attack twice. So again, that gives them the depth to be able to go through screens. I mean, it's the same as the Flesh Eater Courts. It can go through screens. The Hedonites can do the same thing. With that second, so fair enough. The great thing is, because of the speed, you get to protect your flanks as well, so you end up in boxing yourself in. But then by doing that, you then open yourself to being able to be penetrated through the center, because everybody gets really close together, and that's what the Hedonites love. Good bit of penetration. So go in and then push it in again, because you got that second activation. Fucking get all in there.
Right.
Hedonite.
So, and also, but in most cases you'd be right. But what's really interesting about this particular matchup is you play total commitment.
Yeah.
So those Heartrenders who basically have scored so many different points in different games and won games for everybody, they're a little bit less useful than they would be normally.
Definitely.
But also it does mean that you're not going to Ben's army won't be able to play quite so as a single block that it tends to. A lot of the abilities obviously are focused around the Cauldron.
Yeah.
But you've got Marathi who can run off and just go and do what she needs to do.
Yeah.
And then Marathi's solid because you can only do the one mortal wound to her.
Well, yeah, so...
Oh, sorry, you can only do the 3 damage.
The 3 damage, yeah. Marathi is great in all of these activation wars, because it's like, activate as many times as you want, you're only just doing the 3 damage.
Yeah, so Marathi's going to be a key piece to this.
Yeah.
And again, I can't stress it enough how, like, at one point, Ben's own win percentage, like, is in his win rate for Age of Sigmar 2, at one point was at 90%. I think his win rate with Daughters of Khaine is still like 80% as a player. So like he is absolute. Joe's up against it. Joe is wonderful though, yeah, and he's just going to move them forward and he's going to give it a whirl. I would say that one of the advantages here and why it was so important that we saw that dice roll before that Ben won is it means that Ben gets to make the choice, and what he really doesn't want, I would say, is he doesn't want Joe to hit him on the first turn, because the Daughters of Khaine really want to fight turns 2-3 because of the chart as opposed to straight away on turn 1. That would be my thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, they do get different buffs through the game, so they do get some interesting phases. But I mean, they're just a solid fighting force all the time.
But the one thing we do have to remember. So when we do see it when the battle commence, we are going to see the Daughters of Khaine obviously doing a lot of taking a lot of hits and surviving it, and they are arguably too tanky. But when you do see that happen, you do have to remember that Joe is going to be able to do some late game summoning, and put units back on the board, which Joe doesn't have access to. So it might look mid game like it definitely could be Ben's game, but Joe has got some like the ability for Hedonites or Slaanesh to put bodies on the board after that combat is actually where the game is going to swing, and Hedonites can put a stupid amount of summoning on the board.
They can indeed. So they've obviously got the ways where they can build up the depravity points doing all the wounds and stuff, but then they just seem to get other depravity points just for being in certain places or charging or stuff like that. So
putting the Enrapturous down is also a thing as well.
Yeah. So, but he has to be careful that he keeps some heroes alive, so that he's got places to summon to, because that's that. You know, if you can kill off the heroes, then it doesn't matter how many points he gets, he's got nowhere. Nobody can bring them back to life. So,
it's true. Elwina, thank you for subscribing. And thank you everyone for joining us on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook, wherever you have joined us from. It's me and Nathan, and obviously this is the BOBO coverage 2019. There's 100 games of Warhammer happening in this hall right now. We're only going to be talking about the 2, but thankfully we've got a man who doesn't mind talking about the other 98. Yeah, he's a one-man, gorgeous machine, and some say, I don't know, say something nice about him.
Some say 100 games is not enough for him. 400 games next year, and he'll cover them all in depth with full tactical insight.
Mr. Chuckabutty.
Full tactical insight? Not a flipping chance, Mr. Prescott. Right, so I'm going to be bringing you games, as I have been all day. I'm going to be bringing you the updates from the games all around the room. So we've got some really interesting matchups, as well as some kind of early in the tournament matchups that I'm almost a little disappointed that it's not for a bigger stake, if you know what I mean. So, for instance, like Table 7, which you probably can't see, is just a bit further in the distance. We've got Dan Ford with his Skaven Tide versus Jack Armstrong. Now, both of those guys, bugle being called, everyone has to cheer, of course. So you've got Dan versus Jack. Jack with his Daughters of Khaine, Dan Ford with his Skaven Tide. Both are such good players, and they played in a final, a 5th game, so often. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen now, but it's happening now, right? So they're not going to get it in game 5, but they're getting it right now. And this is the kind of, let's call this the final of day 1, because these are 2 absolute giants of the sport, as it were, that are going head to head on game 3 out of 5. So it's happening early, and I'm going to give you as much in-depth kind of info as I can. So far, all that's happened is Jack gave turn 1 away to Dan, and Dan has cast Vortex. So the Skaven Ender spell, he's cast that. It's landed right in Jack's in Jack's deployment zone, and he's rolled all the dice for the mortal wounds, and each one has gone off. So he's got some. So Jack's got some saves to make, which is a bit of a kick in the nuts straight away. A bit closer up, we've got over my shoulder. We've got Tom with his Flesh Eat Courts versus Richie with his Gloomspite Gits. Tom has taken turn 1 and he has charged. He's gone full balls out. He's going absolute mental, charge in, go for it, don't care, just absolutely smash him. Other games, so there's still a lot of deployment, still a lot of explaining. What's great about BOBO is there's a lot of time taken explaining what their armies do. So it's like, oh, have you played against Skaven before? No. Okay, let's quickly whip through the armies. So the other games are going to be bringing you for the rest of the game and the rest of our coverage today. We've got Darren, who we saw on the stream earlier, with his Hedonites of Slaanesh versus Speckles with his Fresh Eater Courts. I can see they're already downing shots against each other, so that's going to be a nice tight game. That'll be great. We've got Adam Kunis right next to them. We've got Adam Kunis versus Phil with his Skaven. Adam Kunis bringing Order Draconis again. Phil versus Skaven. We've got lots of charges that have already gone on, I can see from here. So Adam's obviously got turn 1, charged him with some dragons, and I'll bring you the updates of that. Table 22, Steve Dooley. We know he's gone 2 for 2 so far with his Darkling Covens. We saw him earlier on in the day versus Tuggy. And he's going up against Tim Fisher with his Gloomspite Gits. So that's a really cool matchup. I was asking them both. Neither one really knows how it's going to go because it's a really nice, it's a good matchup. It's not going in either one's favour. Table 24, Miles with his Skaven. This is Miles Hewitt with his Skaven versus James Tinsdale with his Ideneth Deepkin. Now, James's last game got really heated at the end because there was a little game-winning giveaway that his opponent gave him. Just say, yeah, of course, you can charge into him. Yeah, go for it. That ended up turning the game, and his opponent was a little bit annoyed that he'd given that, and it shouldn't have happened. So he's thinking it necessarily wouldn't have been the win for James. So it's a bit just there, but he gave it away. It's his own fault, really. And then we move on to the little men. This is LLV and Tuggy. So LLV with his Dispossessed, he's up against Chris with Maggotkin. Not an ideal scenario for him. He's just going to have to churn through a whole load of gooey green guys. And then table 73, we've got Tuggy versus James, and different James this time, Stormcast Eternals. So Tuggy should know how to play that. The difference we've got with the Stormcast Eternals player, James, is that everything has to deploy on the board, and Tuggy has to deploy Celestant Prime on the board as well. So that's something that's kind of, there's a little bit of hamstringing going on, but it's hamstringing both, so that's okay. And then looking at Wanderer Watch, moving back to Wanderer Watch, we've got Will with his Wanderers on 82, tabled 82, versus Dan with his Skaven. This is basically a race to see who can win, right? Because Wanderers haven't won a game out of the 4 games that they played, and they haven't won one yet. So we've got Will versus Dan. Dan's got Skaven. It's not ideal, right? And then you've got Keith with his Wanderers versus Glenn with his Stormcast Eternals. Also, that's quite a good one, right? So the Wanderers versus Stormcast Eternals. Wanderers can do some kind of janky teleporting stuff. Stormcast Eternals, they're going to lack a little bit of mobility, but they have got Paladors and they've got the Dracolines as well. We've got a lot of hugging going on behind me, so we've got some fun. So we've got some tequilas going on and lots of fun. It's game 3. There's so much alcohol we could choose already. But I'm going to hand right back to Rob and Nathan, and they're going to give you everything that's going on table 1.
Hey, welcome back to the Brave One British Open. We've got Slaanesh versus, well done Adam, by the way. Slaanesh versus Daughters of Khaine. I'm very excited. I can't wait to hear what happens in the rest of the hall. You just saw 2 men who were doing shots with each other, celebrate behind Adam, because they're having to play each other. That would be Speckles, and he potentially going to get his 3rd win, but he is against probably one of the best gamers.
Yeah, and Darren's brought a specifically anti-FEC list, so I think it's going to, having poisoned him with whatever the tequila or whatever it was, I think it's going one way.
Yeah, Speckles said his tactic is to, wait, AD and P Scully playing each other. That's amazing. Look at that. Anyway, so sorry.
Yeah. And the average age on that table is 100 years.
Yes, it is. Right, so hello everyone, welcome and join us. We're going to go to the tabletop now. I'm pretty certain Joe's going to do that. No, so sorry. Right, there you go, there's our tabletop. So we're seeing deployment at the minute. So Joe's at the top and Ben is at the bottom. Hedonites at the top, Daughters of Khaine at the bottom. We're going to talk about the list in a minute, but I just want you guys to work out how we're going to talk about the deployment first, which is total commitment. That's the scenario. Thank you very much, Scrivo. So Nathan, total commitment. Yeah. You have to split your army up. My tactic usually is pick a flank, and then I run along the flank, and then I do both, and then I try and pivot and take one of the 3rd objectives later on. What's your thoughts?
Okay, so like you try and turn it into battle for the pass styley, so end up playing the board long ways. That's quite a nice tactic, because it does mean that you can concentrate your forces, and Blitzkrieg always works. Well, it works a lot of the time. Anyway.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I would say that. I would say, in my opinion, that it works really well here, specifically with the Daughters of Khaine army, because they want all of their overlapping buffs near each other.
They fight nicely together,
Yeah, they fight in concentrated little groups, is what they do. So I think that's enough for the overlay. Thanks very much, John. So they do start 24 inches apart, I'm almost certain.
No, this is 9 away from the enemy territory. So
that's why I was really happy it was... I was only almost certain as opposed to fully certain.
Well, you had a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, so they can potentially go, 18 inches, not forgetting the units of Witch Elves that are going to be able to run and charge. You've got some strong movement. Marathi's going to be a unit on the board. We'll talk about the list in a second, but I'm very interested in deployment on whether or not we're going to see everything bunched up in a group. I wonder if we're going to see the cauldron in the middle, or we're going to see it deployed on a single flank.
Well, we can see already Ben has got a lot of models across the whole front. So it does look like he's spreading out a good long way. He's going to try and try and go for the full spread out frontal,
Yes.
which
To stop the Slaanesh coming around the sides.
well, that's it. I mean, if you're going to be playing Slaanesh, sometimes the frontal's the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw you tried so hard to avoid all of that. Talking about Slaanesh for the next few months is going to be quite challenging, realistically.
Well, it's going to be great.
It is going to be really great.
There's going to be DPs everywhere, full frontals, rear assaults. Oh, man.
Yeah. So as you can see, the lights are going to show you where the objective markers are. So on the far right hand side, there's the beasts. But if you want to know, before we get on to looking at the two actual army lists,
Yeah.
do you want to look at what the actual kind of meta stats for these two types of armies are, Nathan?
Yeah, go on then. Yeah,
I'm pretty certain
that'd be
John
cool.
will bring that up for us. And everyone on the Twitch chat, I'd like to know what you guys
Well,
think
there's not
of
going
this.
to be a lot on the Slaanesh at the moment, are there? The Hedonites, that is.
No, well, actually, so interestingly, Hedonites... So Hedonites can't. Hedonites have already been doing really well. If you watch the stat show, if you go on newestwargaming.com and look at the stats already on there,
Yeah.
you'll see that they do a cracking job already. But
Yeah.
since the Wrath and Rapture box, they actually have got a lot of top results, and they've generally done quite well. So there we go. There's the stats. So Ben's Daughters of Khaine, they've always rocked about 5.2% of the meta across the globe. And then they are pretty popular here, 8 factions. However, Joe, with his Hedonites, they are about half as popular, but at this event, obviously since the new book, same
They're
amount.
going to be super popular. Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of these armies. The Hedonites, lovely models, and pretty strong rule set. So yeah.
Very, 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 very popular. I think our machine has missed a trick there. But so the global win percentage though is interesting. 65%. At one point they were rocking 80%.
Yeah.
And then they've slowly dwindled and come down to 65%.
Well, as Heinrad has played more games.
Yeah, as Heinrad, a one-man stats tanking machine has dropped the stats. You've seen that they've actually lowered, and what's actually happened is that global win percentage has come down.
No,
So-
I think as we see, because they were pretty isolated on the top tier for a while, but now we're seeing other armies join them there. Obviously, Flesh Eater Courts and Skaven are equally as strong, if not stronger. And I think still the Legion and Nagash are a strong contender. So yeah, we're getting more and more armies up at that top bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look, the global win percentage is not actually that different, considering that was the win percentage before the book even came out. But I will say that in my opinion, that daughter stat is actually artificially low, because ever since someone like Ben, his win rate is far, far higher.
Oh yeah, so his personal win rate is superb.
With this army, it's like 80%.
He kicks ass, so yeah.
And the most important stat though, Nate, because we're at BOBO,
Yeah.
World's Best Age Sigmar event, and it's the fun percentage of the two
I
armies.
think they've got these mixed up. The Hedonite one is definitely a 69er all the time.
I personally think they're both 69ers, and that was an obvious gag. And I'm just really surprised he missed it. But yeah, Daughters of Khaine really can be a little bit obnoxious when you're trying to play them, because if you hit that block that's got the prayer on, they're just gonna make so many saves. It's going to be really upsetting. And then also the Hedonites, when we get to look at the list in a minute, they've got some mechanics which, if you like we said, if you're in the activation wars, if you don't have the ability to either always strikes first or make something go last, it can just be a really negative experience, because they run at you, they make you strike last, and then they hit you, or you run at them, they make you strike last, and then you hit them. So that's just quite hardcore, right?
Yes, she's she, it, him, them. They're
Demons are thems.
They're a right fucking pain in the arse to fight, that's for sure.
But like we saw, the win percentages are pretty equal, so Joe can't really blame it on either army being too powerful, and I don't think Ben cares either way.
No, he's just going to go out there. He's going to just play a great game as well, so there we go. I believe we've got a photo lined up. And this will be so Ben is a commission painter, isn't he?
Ben is a commission painter. So it's called. So his commission studio is called Studio Erstwood.
Eastwood. Cool.
Yeah. So you can find that online, or you can just follow Ben on Twitter at the Erstwood. So this is actually Joe's army, and it's been painted by Ben. So we just got this pre-game. We don't have one of them fancy cameras, so thankfully Mr. Chris Frostrin, who's here doing photos, took this for us so we can get it up. If you look at that, it's just stunning.
Looks awesome, yeah.
It's just gorgeous.
So both the armies on the table, he's painted.
Yeah, both the armies he's painted,
Cool.
which I think is really funny.
Funny, yeah.
And also, we got the handshake.
Yeah.
So Ben gets to choose who goes first. Who has Ben given the turn to? Is Ben taking it or is he giving it?
This we don't know yet. So he's given Joe a chance to have a go.
Well, okay.
Well,
So Joe's got the turn.
so it's up to Joe not to mess it up, but he's not got a good history on that, has
Yeah,
he?
so possibly one of my favourite ever games that I covered doing live streaming was the South Coast GT 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago in fact, where I got to see Joe potentially win the event by using his Skyfires, and he just didn't.
Yeah, just
And it really upset me.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to talk through the list as we watch the game
Cool,
happening,
cool. Yeah,
as
yeah.
opposed to go to the lists. So in Joe's army, which is going to become relevant, he's got the Keeper of Secrets, he's got the command trait Strength of Godhood, and the artifact the Silver Slash, and the host option is the Strongest Alone. And then he's a Pretender's host, obviously. So he's going to get +1 to charge. So then he's also got the spell, and this is really important, Slothful Stupor, making things strike last. Yeah. He's then got Infernal Rapturous with the Herald of Slaanesh. He's also got then the Contorted Epitome, and he's also got something else which says Page Image, which is weird. Then units, he's got 30 Demonettes, 10 Demonettes, 10 Demonettes. He's got 5 Seekers and 6 Fiends of Slaanesh. And then the thing that we might be seeing right now.
That's it. The mesmerizing mirror has just been placed on the board. So
Yeah,
he's
and this
passed
is
that.
that's massively impactful in the game because it hasn't been FAQ'd for the event, right? So every time you move, run or charge near it, it's going to hurt you. It's going to affect you.
Unless you move towards it, is that not the rule?
We'll double check.
Yeah.
But I think you're just around it. As far as I
I
understand
think
it.
if you're moving towards it, you're okay. Then it's when you move away from it, it can do some mortal woundage to you. So Joe's also cast Mystic Shield. He's put that onto the Fiends over in the corner. The Fiends are pretty sweet.
Yeah, so it suffers D3 mortal wounds unless it finishes the move closer.
Yeah, so you got to move towards it, otherwise it's going to hurt you.
But that's if it starts its movement, and then in this situation, that would be the movement, it would be the charge,
Yeah,
and it also would be the piling.
because
So-
Parlin is a move. Yeah.
So there's the potential for 3d3 mortal wounds to be in a 12-inch radius around that model to every unit, which is really, really big. Yeah.
And what's it cast on?
It is cast on 6.
Oh, okay. So it's sort of on that average line to try and get rid of it. You're looking for a 7, obviously.
It does depend where Ben's casters are on the tabletop, so that's something we're going to have to check as well. Although I'm pretty certain Marathi is knocking around somewhere,
Yeah.
and then she's going to go big. I personally think we're going to see Joe just go forward and hammer it in. I don't know what you think. I don't think that's the right choice, but I think that's what we're going to see Joe do.
Well, yeah, I think that's Joe's classic tactic. Just push it all forward and have a go. So there we go.
Well, but I wouldn't say that that's not what he's done, because if you look at the top, his Fiends here, he's deployed them quite safely.
Yeah.
So I actually don't think he has, and he doesn't want to get them trapped up in Marathi, I would say.
Yeah.
So Marathi's going to be his major issue. So I'm almost certain Marathi's in this bottom left-hand objective, around here, because he's going to want to start just making her take damage wherever he can.
Yeah.
Yeah? Is that what you're hearing from the tabletop?
So at the moment it's just the movement. Marathi. John, do we know where Marathi is? So we're going to see the the special pointer. So
There
you
we
were
go.
right. There we go.
That is high-end technology.
That is
We
the
hired in a
Jonathan
pointer.
Edlund pointer.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So Marathi is at the bottom, so
Yeah.
you're almost certainly going to expect her to take wounds, but I imagine she's going to make herself big. But then what basically Joe is doing is he's making it so that Ben can't go this way, or he can, but he's going to take damage,
Yeah,
which I think is a move. What do you think?
that's right. Yeah. So it's so he's placed it right in front of the Daughters of Khaine line. So for them to try and go and engage the Slaanesh line, they have to go away from the mirror, and that's when they'll start taking the damage. Thing is, I would have set it maybe a little bit closer back towards my own line, so that it would still affect you as you're fighting and piling in deeper and deeper into your own part.
Yeah.
So you might have deployed it a little bit too deep, but it's a new spell, not quite sure on the intricacies of using it, so it's going to be cool watching to see how
it can
use
move 6 inches, so it can go from here
Oh
to
yeah,
over
so
there.
it's predatory as well.
Yeah, which is interesting, and also it's got a really good. You can.
It's got like an anti-hero thing.
It's got an
hasn't it?
anti-hero, so any heroes, and also you roll. So.
So we've just seen AD killing Flesh Eater Court Dragon. He's nearly had a heart attack.
So
fucking die!
AD just had to take 2 sodium pills. We're a game happening somewhere else in the hall. We saw. So interestingly, the Sheffield Slaughter, the longest running Age of Sigmar event ever, is hosted by both AD and Pete. AD and Pete have known each other for I think exactly 312 years.
Yeah.
And they're playing. They've got draw in a 200-person event with people having come from Canada, having come from Australia. They've got drawn against each other.
In the third round, yeah.
Yeah, and Pete's army of Flesh Eater Courts has made AD almost want to stop playing Age of Sigmar on a daily basis. However, AD just killed one of his dragons and screamed, "Fuck you, die."
Take your toys off, mate.
Take your toys off, mate.
Yeah, it's class. It's a great game. Great game.
Right, so we've seen the Rapturous go down. The Rapturous move forward here.
Yeah.
So we've seen the Fiend. So what we've seen here is a little defensive line.
Yeah.
Now, what's really cool about the characters, now we've already seen this in things like the Beast of Chaos lists, and we see it in most lists realistically. You put a chaff wall and you put something just 3 inches behind it, or not even 3 inches, a little bit less. And then if anything tries to charge here, then what's going to happen? He's going to roll his 2+, then they're going to strike last, then he's going to be able to pile in and do a bunch of murder.
Yes.
Although I would not suggest that that's the right call to do against those, because I don't think the Keeper of Secrets is actually going to go through a unit of Witch Elves.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. Again, some of them can have some pretty choppy abilities, especially in the Pretender list, which tends to make whatever Keeper of Secrets you got particularly choppy. So, yeah. I have a feeling that the and obviously they can pile in and attack twice. I do have a feeling that, especially if it's not the unit that's got the 5-up or the Blessings of Khaine on, that a keeper can knock a big hole into a block of witches.
Yeah, absolutely. Now now I know we've just moved into Ben's very first turn. We'll see hero phases. We'll see things like immune to battle shot going on, reroll saves. We'll get to that in a minute. However, we've got some great news happening from the rest of the hall, so we'll find out what that is, and we'll come back and we'll let you know what buffs are up and what aggressive motions are happening. So,
Thank you very much. Right, I've just had a bit of a quick whip round the hall, and so far, like I promised you, we've got Dan Ford versus Jack Armstrong. I'm going to bring you the update on that in a bit. I'm going to go through everything else first of all. So table 12, we've got Darren versus Speckles over there, and we've got Darren has used the Slaanesh ability to basically completely and utterly neuter the Speckles' general, so he's Ghoul King on Terrorgeist. He's been completely new to it, so he can't do any abilities, can't do any command abilities and that sort of thing, so he's just kind of stuck. He just can do nothing useful. We've got just behind the camera, just off to my right here, we've got Adam versus Paul. We've got Adam with his Order Draconis versus Paul with his Skaven. We've got a lot of dragons in against Paul's front lines there. So there's a huge push for one corner of the board by Adam. He's really looking to kind of quite almost literally turn the tables, force his way in to one end of the board, take as much as he can, capitalize and kill as much as he can really early. He's put all of his heavy units straight in. Table 22. This is Steve Dooley with his Darkling Covens, currently 2-0 so far today. And he's against Tim Fisher with his Gloomspike Gits. Right now, what's happening is, because you've got the 4 objectives basically in each 4 corners, what's happening with their game is they're turning 90 degrees basically. So Steve is taking, with his Darkling Covens, is taking one corner and one short end, as it were. And it looks like Tim is kind of not running away, but assaulting the other end. So they've kind of counter-deployed each other, and as a result, they've ended up just kind of fighting for the opposite one when there's not a huge amount to defend there. So looks pretty good. But what we've seen is a lot of failed charges by Tim. With he's got Loon Boss and Mangler Squig, which is the 2 squigs stacked on top of each other, and the new guys. They look amazing, by the way, and he's done a great job of painting them. And also an actual normal Mangler Squig. They both failed, along with 2 or 3 other units of squigs, have just completely and utterly failed their charges. So they're sat about 8 inches away, not able to do anything, and just sat holding a line. It does mean that Steve isn't going to be able to assault that side, but he hasn't got a huge amount at that end anyway, so it's not really the biggest loss. Table 24. This is Miles versus James. Miles with his Skaven, James, Ideneth Deepkin, and there's Ideneth all over Miles's lines. It is like, if you were to walk up to it right now and just be like, right, I'm calling the game right now, 100% you would say James has won that game, because the way it looks, there's a lot of Miles's guys being picked off, which you know, but we're still in turn 1, so Miles hasn't had a huge amount of time to capitalise, fire his cannons, really push back and make an attempt to kind of even the scales, as it were. Scales, you like it? Scales, you like it? You like it. Right, moving on to Dispossessed and Wanderer Watch. So Dispossessed, we've got LLV on table 54 versus Chris with his Maggotkin. So Nurgle charged in turn 1, got loads of really good long bomb charges off. So he's just pinned LLV back. Now we know that the Dwarves haven't got the most amount of mobility, right? So he's just stuck. However, all of the Maggotkin spells all failed. So 4 spells were cast, none of them successfully. And then LLV tried to cast the Comet with his allied in unit of Stormcast, tried to cast the Everblaze Comet, failed on that. So there's some Khorne interference in there, because there's nothing, no spells are going off today. Table 73, Tuggy with his Dispossessed versus James with his Stormcast Eternals. Like I said earlier, different James from last game, but it's a really, as both of them have said, I walked around both sides of the table, they both said, oh, it's a really cagey game so far. So I think they're both waiting for the other person to make the move. So at the moment they're just staring at each other, grumbling. So let me just turn the page 1 second. And finally, then we've got the Wanderer Watch. We've got Will with his Wanderers versus Dan with his Skaven. So Will is given turn 1 away. Skaven haven't been it yet. It's really early days, but Skaven haven't yet capitalised on that turn 1 and been able to make many charges. And really made much of a move up the board. They haven't really. I think again this might be another fairly cagey game where they just kind of sit back and wait for the other guy to make the first move. We've also got Keith with his Wanderers versus another Stormcast Eternals army of Glenn. and it looks like it's there's charges. So turn 1 is pretty much finished. Both sides got all the charges off they wanted to get. So you've got this like twisting of the board, where you've got a couple of points are looking like one end of the board looks like it's going to go for the Wanderers, Will with his Wanderers, and you've got the other end is going to be Dan with his Glenn with his Stormcast Eternals. So that is all I've got for you right now. I'm going to run off and go get another update for you, and I'll be back in about 15-20 minutes time and let you all know how it's all going.
Cool, thanks.
Hello, welcome back to the game. So welcome to BOBO 2019. This is table 1. So these are 2 competitors who both won 2 games each. You've seen Ben Saville with his daughters Khaine, a man with an 80 to 90% win rate with this army alone. Joe Purcell with the Hedonites of Slaanesh, a brand new book, playing it out on the tabletop. Joe already... So Ben, they rolled off for sides. Ben got to choose who goes first. He gave the turn away to Joe, meaning Joe's had his first turn. Ben is now reacting. We saw the mirror cast by Joe down here, and then we've seen it unbound in Ben's first hero phase.
Yeah.
And that might be coming back later. There are 6 Fiends of Slaanesh right here. You have 30 Demonettes in the top right-hand corner with 10 holding onto this objective and doing the work. You have his Keeper of Secrets here with some Seekers in front. In front of them, though, is... so not only did you see this spell unbound, we saw Morathi go big.
Yes.
Does she go big and then go home, or she just goes big?
She goes big and then she takes everybody home
She go
for a good time.
She does. So Morathi went big and then she moved. So she was here and then she moved here. And then on the right-hand side, in the hero phase, we saw so this is 30 Sisters of Slaughter, and they've got double hand weapons, and they've all been buffed up beyond
so they've
all
got
hell.
the
So
Blessings of Khaine on them, which lets them re-roll their ignore damage roll, which is what makes everything super tanky. Then they've also got they've had a shot of Witch Brew, which means that they're re-rolling their to wounds and are immune to battle shock. They've also had Mind Razor put onto them, giving them that extra rend. And they've also got the Catechism of Murder, so exploding sixes give the extra attack. So they're all fired up and ready to go and stab the fuck out of something.
They are. Indeed, they are going to do so much there. And also a big charge roll could get them around those Seekers realistically. Now, they're probably still going to be always strikes last. A double pile-in Keeper of Secrets could do the work. But all of those overlapping buffs, potentially there. I would say, Nathan, that I actually think that Ben reckons he can hold on the right-hand side. And instead, what he's going to do is he's just going to hold up the Keeper. Now, I know, obviously, with the sheer volume of damage that the Keeper can do, that's the saying hold up is silly, but immune to battle shock can do pretty good work.
Yeah, immune to battle shock. I think it's the Blessing of Khaine is what is where the holding up comes, because they've got that 5-up ignore from being in Hagnar, and then being able to re-roll it makes them actually fairly tanky, well, very tanky, to be honest. The other interesting thing is, so what is the range of the thing what the demon can
6 inches
make 6 inches, right? So it just depends whether Ben can charge that unit of Hellstriders in front and still stay outside of 6 of the Keeper and then pile in.
Because of the pile-in.
Yeah, because the sisters
Wow,
have got the
that's
6
really
inch
clever.
pile in. So you could possibly charge the Fiends right on the corners and then still pile in and engage the Keeper without the Keeper being able to make you always strikes last.
So I'll draw you a picture. So effectively, from this model, you're looking at so from the Keeper that's on the right-hand side there, you've got like a 6-inch bubble. What Nathan's basically saying, if I charge one model here, if that distance, I'll change it up, that distance in red is beyond 6 inches, then he can wait, then it means he misses the phase where he's able to slow a unit down and make him always strikes last, and then pile in the 6 inches and then do the work. So
but the problem is obviously you still got to fight that screen, but it's just whether you can get the charge in so you can get enough models sort of around the back of that screen, and so that they can then pile in 6 inches into the keeper and do some damage to her.
So he's going to be getting depravity points anyway, but Joe isn't going to want to just give that up. The Keeper of Secrets is awesome as a model in the problems that it opposes, but it isn't Morathi, right?
Yeah.
Right?
And it's not going to be generating the extra depravity points as it does damage around it, because like we've said already, they're all 1 moon models, so yeah.
Yes.
Interesting to see. That's where the activation wars have taken us into the minute moves that you make during the charge phase and the piling in, etc. That's where you can turn games, I think. It'd be interesting to see how somebody adept as Ben is uses the gift that is such a big gift that you get if you got a unit that can pile in 6 inches.
Yeah, and don't forget, like, so again, we talked about Witch Elves all day. Ben's list, which we haven't actually talked about yet, and I'll quickly pop into now, rocks 2 units of 30 Sisters of Slaughter with only 10 Witch Elves. So he goes all Sisters and very light on the Witch Elves. One of them has got Barbed Whips and Sacrificial Knives. The other one is Barbed Whips and Blade Buckler. And then the Witch Elves have got pairs of Sacrificial Knives. The 2 units of Heart Renders, which are just so good and normally used to hold objectives, but a little bit wasted in this scenario.
So, but they're having a few pot shots. There you go. They've taken off a few of the Demonettes on the top left-hand corner objective. So they've already moved up, starting to, put some damage in.
Yeah. So if you look at the screen here, so Morathi is here. Yeah, so there's an Enrapturus there. I would say that Ben's plan, and it's a smart plan, and what I would do is I would go into the Fiends, the Fiends of Slaanesh. They cannot take a hit, I don't think. Or 4 wounds, but I just don't think that they can. They're as tanky as they need to be, but they do so much damage.
Yeah.
So they need to be taken out. They're a little bit more expensive than they were, but I would say that would be my prime target for Morathi. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Well, I would like to see that, although Morathi can probably take the counter charge better than anybody else with that limiting damage to 3. So you might go for the gold, but then you lose the gold again when it gets taken back off of you. So yeah,
you get a bonus point.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I think going in there, getting the bonus gold if you can, but he's made his charge. It doesn't look like he's got as far as that.
So what's he charged into and what did he roll?
Yep.
Those are the questions.
So Morathi's rolled an 8, and she's going in for the gold, basically.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, so all about so what we saw in the last game actually was really interesting, Nathan, where we saw Tim decided not to go up on points or contest the objectives very early, which meant
that he lost the game.
Yeah, he did. But then what you're seeing from Ben here is early aggression onto Joe's objective to score the points. Joe's already scored the 2, but basically you just start off with 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you can score the points, it's more than likely a good idea to do it. Having played the Gits myself, I do think that the Gits are really good at playing the end game better than most.
I would say that
you can't let them get too far ahead.
Well, that's where summoning is so powerful, right? When you get the summoning mechanic happening, I think that's really big, especially for late game putting objective units on the board. So I did prefix this entire game at the start, and I said that while Joe might give away early losses, he could put summoning units back on the board.
Yeah.
And then threaten those back objectives. So I know Ben's aware of that, but Ben wants to be conscious that he's not going to accidentally. So because he's going to be able to, if he gets enough DP, so depravity points, he'll be able to string out the summoning in a very shocking way.
Yeah.
So he just needs to be super careful.
So the sisters can do the 6. They didn't even bother charging because they were within 6. So
the epitome is here on the board.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
The sisters didn't charge.
he didn't need to charge.
They just piled in
So they're
6.
piling in 6.
Wow. Okay. So he's not using the charge mechanic.
So avoiding the fancy pants thing that the old keeper can do, because that's in the charge phase, isn't it?
Oh, that's really so he skipped the whole thing we came up with, which was clever, and he went for an even more cleverer one.
A lot more simple, yeah.
Efficiency in motion. So he just instead. So the Hedonites' ability to make you strike last happens in the charge phase. So he just piled in. Yeah. Yeah. There are 2 ways to skin a cat, and this one was way easier.
Yeah. I mean, this way you can't threaten the keeper. So the other way, if you do get the big charge,
I don't think that's that is normally the case, but I think the War Scroll overrides it.
So specific War Scrolls do specify if that you can pile in 6 if you are within 6. So there's a few units that can do that. So other units like Wolf Riders, you still have to be within 3 to pile in. But units like the Sisters of Slaughter and like Yetis as well can pile
in the
6.
chat we're getting a question, and it's helpful to help everyone else out at home. So normally you can pile in. You pile in 3 inches, but you can only do a piling move if you've charged or you've started within 3 inches of model. However, the special ability that the Sisters of Slaughter have, Dance of Death, Sisters of Slaughters can be chosen to pile in and attack in the combat phase if they are within 6 inches of an enemy and can move up to 6 inches when they pile in.
Yeah, so they specifically, there's a few units like that which say that you can, if you are within 6, you can pile in 6. So the Bone Grinder Giant, the Yetis, and the Sisters of Slaughters all have those same words.
Yeah.
So
But that's a good point Rimio making in the chat, just to clarify for people, and that's how it works. Which is useful. And Ben's been playing this army, as I say, in top tier Age of Sigmar since before AOS 2, nearly a year. Nearly a straight year, actually. So I'm pretty certain if that was an issue, it would have come up way before this event. Piling in, hitting the Seekers, and then the Seekers, they're definitely going to die. And then Marathi is going to go and claim that objective in the top left-hand corner, because there's also the Heart Renders are also there as well. So they've really, really moved up the distance, right?
So we can see the huge pile of dice that's being built in the bottom left-hand corner here, and that is because the Sisters of Slaughter
are about to attack.
Have got all of the attacks in the world.
Dice apps, babies. Let's get dice apps on the go, right? He's going to be rolling it out, and more than likely, absolutely more than likely, those fiends are going to die. But it's whether or not is the Keeper of Secrets within 3 inches of the Sisters of Slaughter. That's the big question.
I would say looking at that not, but I mean this is on a screen, so it's quite hard to judge perfectly. But
we'll find out on the tabletop. Our table boss Jonathan Etland is making sure.
And those are just Hull Striders that they're attacking there, I believe.
They're called Seekers, aren't they now?
Those are the Seekers are up there. Oh yeah,
they're fiends.
Yeah, Seekers,
they changed their bloody names on us, didn't they?
Everything's changed.
Bloody hard.
Seekers
to keep it up.
And then the fiends are the bigger, chunkier ones.
So they're definitely going to go down. Which is good, but so that priority roll. Let's talk about what could happen next.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be important because I think what Ben has done and why the Daughters of Khaine do so well is Marathi poses this massive problem. He's going to sit on this objective, and while he can maybe outnumber them, most of the things that you'll throw at Marathi will die. He doesn't want to waste the output of 6 Fiends of Slaanesh, I would say, on Marathi, because you can only max out at that 3 damage.
Yeah.
So I would try and do the shooting over here from the Enraptress. I'd try and do mortal wounds from spells, would be my tactic, but that's going to take 2 or 3 turns to do that damage, which is why Marathi is so strong. I would send the Fiends this way to start to go through there. That would be my thoughts.
Yeah.
And then hope I can punch through eventually.
Well, yeah, the thing with Marathi, she is a pain in the arse, because you do want to be fighting her in her phase as well. so that you can get the 3 damage in the daughter's turn as well as in the in your own turns. So you do really want to have her engaged because you want to be, every round you want to be doing 6 damage. And the only way you can be doing the damage in the daughter's Khaine turn is if you're actually in a fight with her. So yeah. Anyway, there goes the Seekers. I believe the sisters did 32 damage before the save. So
I told you I was playing at the Heats the other day, and 7 Witch Elves did 38 damage to my character.
They're pretty fighty, aren't they?
They are pretty fighty.
Pretty stabby.
Yeah, so all those objectives are held at the bottom. I think we might be coming up to a priority. No, we're not. We're having all the units strike into Marathi. So he could put 3 damage on in Ben's turn, which is going to be pretty impactful.
Yeah, so that's the thing that I was saying. You really want to be fighting her in Ben's turn as well as your own. So it does mean you need to commit something that can hang around for the extra turns and still put the damage on. Otherwise, she'll take twice as long to go down.
So I would say, people in the chat are saying that it might be that it could be all over on the priority roll. What, Nathan? Let's think about the priority roll. If it goes towards Joe, what does he do?
Alright, well then he can get stuck in with his keeper and those demonettes. He can just do Joe stuff, just push forward and try and kill. I mean, the fiends are really scary. If he can get those fiends into Ben's main lines, the fiends will hurt. So it's whether he just ignores Marathi in that one corner and tries to go forward and take out the big blocks that are in front of him and reduce the number of
I think
threats.
they're just measuring whether or not he's going to be able to pile in 6 inches to make sure. So, because if he started within 6, he might be able to pile in, and then because I think maybe he wants to lock the fiends in. I'm not sure, but we'll find out from the tabletop. So Rimio in the chat reckons it looks like the double turn Ben wins. If Ben loses the turn, he still might win. The chaffing wasn't up to par, he reckons. The thing is Joe lost the screen on purpose on the right-hand side. Like, he always knew that was going to go down.
Yeah.
So the keeper's there is set up. But the keeper doesn't have to fight that fight. The keeper could sneak around. The keeper could go central. I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to go fairly straight. But that's going to be a mistake because that unit has got all of the buffs on it all of the time.
Yeah, they're going to be super hard to kill with the blessing of Khaine on them. Definitely are.
It's going to be really hard. But we've got the priority roll coming up soon, so that's going to be really exciting to watch. I won't lie to you. I'm very excited to watch the priority roll.
Oh yeah, that'll be cool.
It's going to be pretty hot.
There's quite a bit of
there's some more piling in now.
So this is the second unit of sisters with their 6-inch pile-in, making sure that they do tag the fiends. So the fiends are now 2.9 inches away from where he's piled into, as he piles into that little unit of demonettes, I think it was, in front of them. So yeah, there we go. And we've still not seen Marathi swing at the back. So
Ixtab's pointing out. Ixtab's pointing out and saying that 6-inch piling is absolutely great. So. So while we're waiting for these combats to resolve, we're going to go for a quick update with Adam, and then we're going to come to probably one of the most exciting priority roles we might see this weekend. So let's find out what's happening at the rest of the event right now.
Okay, I won't keep you too long at all, guys. So I'm just going to pick straight up. I promised you an update with Dan Ford versus Jack Armstrong earlier. Dan Skaven, Jack, Daughters of Khaine. We've got, so turn 2 priority, Jack thought was going to decide the entire thing. So what he's done is he actually held back a lot of his army, kind of playing for the loss of priority, thinking it was going to happen. And guess what? It did. He didn't win that priority, but because he deployed and kind of held back and moved in a certain way, he did not lose out as much as he thought he was going to. Also, Dan going to cast Death Frenzy, which, if you're not entirely aware of what that does, I wasn't. I have to say I had to ask the question. If these Skaven models die, the clan rats, if they die, they and plague monks, if they die, if they've got this spell on them, they get to attack back as they die, so they get to do mortal wounds and all that sort of craziness back on the on Jack's army. That didn't go off at all. Now Dan has been telling me so far, the 2 games before this and this game, that the reason why he's lost at recent tournaments is because that didn't go off. So he's very much kind of feeling like he's on the ropes in terms of that, but he got the priority, so it's looking pretty hot for that. So Jack give me kind of a knowing wink, kind of like yeah, okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So that's my update with Dan and Jack. I'm going to go and get a very quick update from the rest of the tables. I've got a bunch more to bring you, but we're going to come back to the all-important priority roll for you right now. Back to Rob and Nathan right now.
Thank you very much, Adam. So if you've just joined us, everyone, wherever you're watching, Facebook, Twitch or YouTube, give us a like or a thumb, appreciate that. We're at the BOBO 2019 Age of Sigmar Championship, 200 people playing Warhammer. So there's still some ongoing combats. One of the things that we saw happening here, we saw combats happening in the first turn. First turn was taken by Daughters of Khaine and was given to the Hedonites of Slaanesh. Hedonites of Slaanesh moved into the midfield. We saw a unit of Fiends here, and we also saw, well, that's all we saw really.
That unit of Seekers took a stabbing from a bunch of Sisters of Slaughter.
Absolutely. And then in the retaliation, in the Daughters of Khaine first turn, what happened was units of Sisters of Slaughter moved up here. Well, actually, they moved up to here, and then another unit of Sisters of Slaughter moved up to here. This unit on the right-hand side, so they got all of the buffs from the Hag, which is located down here. The Cauldron's here, providing the buff there. So there is just loads of buffs on here. Keeper of Secrets in front of them, but they didn't charge, so that meant the Keeper of Secrets didn't get to use their Locus to slow them down. Wow. Which is interesting. Then this unit of Sisters of Slaughter over here then piled in as well. They activated. Now there's just loads of combats. He's dragged in all 6 Fiends into this combat. Maybe he thinks he can win it over time, which I think is interesting.
It's just ensnaring them into a fight. Okay, so he's ensnaring the Fiends into fighting the Sisters of Slaughter. The Sisters of Slaughter actually are one of the units that you want to be fighting against Fiends, because Fiends don't get all their special bonuses against 1 wound models.
They don't.
So
yeah, there are loads of activations. You've got the Demonettes are going to be fighting Marathi. You've also got a unit of Heartrenders. So it's all action in the first turn.
Yeah, so the Heartrenders have piled in to that combat at the top there. So he's got loads of bodies in there. Looks like.
But while we're waiting for those combats.
Okay. So he's not having a lot of luck with the dice either. The Demonettes getting 9 wound rolls onto Marathi, looking for 4-ups and failed them all. So that's not going to help, is it? Trying to get rid of her, she's tough enough as it is to kill if you're not even putting wounds on her.
Yeah, if you never put that max 3 on, it always upsets you. Yeah. Now, Nath, while we just wait for these very intricate combats to resolve as we find them out, should we see what's happening on the top tables across the room?
Yeah.
Okay, so here you go. There you go. You can see it on the screen. So obviously the top table we're currently covering is Daughters of Khaine versus Hedonites of Slaanesh. Then you've got the master himself, Skaven, against new boy on the field, Max, with his Flesh Eater Courts. You've got Idneth versus Flesh Eater Courts, and I know Idneth have just won that game. That's who we just saw gave Chuckabutty a kiss on the face.
Oh wow, that's finished already.
That's finished already. Yeah. Then you've got Idneth versus Beasts of Chaos. You've got Flesh Eater Courts versus Gloomspite Gits. You've got Flesh Eater Courts versus Skaven, Daughters of Khaine versus Skaven, Disciples of Each versus Nighthaunt, and it's lovely seeing Nighthaunt this high. Flesh Eater Courts versus Seraphon, which I feel so sorry for those. That Seraphon player. Best be so brave. Then you've got Stormcast Eternals versus Beast of Chaos, and Mixed Order versus Legions of Nagash. So you've got it's a nice open field. Can't forget that 14 of the armies here are Flesh Eater Courts, but still there's a lot of them in the top. But the thing that I'm really impressed with is the Idnethipkin being in there.
Yeah.
2. But if you look at that, so there's Flesh Eater Courts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times out of 20 games going into game 3. Really excited to see what that looks like as we go into game 4. Join us tomorrow morning on Sunday morning here on the AOS Wargamer, where what we'll actually have is the current win percentage for each faction.
Wow.
Through the tournament.
That'll be interesting, yeah, definitely.
That will be quite interesting.
Very interesting.
So I am interested generally. But that's cool, nice little update. But still, everyone's running scared of Flesh Eater Courts.
Yeah. Well, they're scary prospects, aren't they?
They are.
Bloody bastard dragons.
So these combats are resolving, as you can see here. So Nathan, have you heard anything from the tabletop?
No, so the Fiends are just piling in, doing a few hits into those sisters, and but it does look like Ben has taken control of the left-hand side of the table quite nicely. So the Fiends, obviously they've not been able to pile in as much as they would like to, and so
I suppose what he's done is activate them and then limited their action.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is clever. And if he gets the priority, what he's actually given, because his army's so tanky, he's given Joe lots of activations, even if Joe wins the priority. This is so different to how I play. So that was like 3 thoughts at once. I'm gonna extract them out.
Yeah.
What I tend to do when I'm playing is I play to give the turn away.
yeah,
That's what I do. But I do that through a mixture of endless spells and a bit of positioning and jockeying. What Ben does is he does it by instigating a load of combats, but then setting up buffs in the right places that he knows if even he gives off the priority, the ongoing combat, even if he loses the priority, he's set up to do the thing that he does best, which is fight.
Yeah.
But it only really works because they're so defensive, which is odd. Their output and defense is massive, really, in the Daughters of Khaine army.
that's right. They're just really good at close quarters.
They are so good.
So-
And Luvo in the chat,
Okay.
also big congrats. Wonderful, man. It says, I think Ben will use his command ability in his hero phase and hit them first as well. The Daughters of Khaine are the old school always strikes first.
Yeah. So strike in the hero phase, not at the beginning of the combat phase. That'll do most stuff. So Marathi just taken out those little Slaaneshi girls that are hanging around a mirror.
Yep.
She smashed.
So the epitome is gone.
She smashed that mirror to smithereens.
Oh, 7 years bad luck for Marathi.
She doesn't give a fuck. She got a special iron heart that is loads of bad luck anyway, or whatever. Good
So,
luck, bad luck.
So before we get to that all-important pivotal priority role, we're going to find out a couple more stories happening around the event from Mr. Chuckabutty. Thank you very much.
Hey guys, right, so I'm back with a bit more of a update. So I left you with the news that that Dan Ford had won the priority against Jack, but that he'd been fairly smart with holding back his Daughters of Khaine army. So what's happened now is Dan's done his turn, hasn't been the most useful turn for him, and Jack has countered by charging through, making the most of Death Frenzy not being on Clan Rats or Plague Monks, and Jack is basically just wiped out a huge amount of Clan Rats, Plague Monks, and he was just about to pile in for an attack on the Grey Seer, which is the kind of main crux of Dan's army. So it really looks like it's Jack's. It's kind of Jack's in the ascendancy, but it's totally still to play for. Dan's got loads of stuff to go for. Moving on, just quickly then, so we've got table 12, they've taken a little drink break, but we've got Darren versus Speckles. Darren, Slaanesh, Speckles, Flesh Eater Courts. So far it's 8-0 to Darren, which is great. So, and he's been using the spell, the Slaanesh spell, to shut down Speckles' general, and just be like, nope, you're doing nothing. So he just keeps casting that and just neutering him, just parking him behind a bit of scenery, and he can't go anywhere. So I'm getting signals now from Rob and Nathan. They want the limelight back. So I'm going to hand back over to them. They're going to give you the latest on the tabletop.
Thank you, Matt. Sorry, Adam. It's just you've joined us now for what is a absolutely pivotal dice roll. As you've seen in the match that we've been watching, you've got Ben and Joe live on the big screen for the priority roll. Who are you voting for? Oh, Joe's rolled a 1, Ben rolled a 3. He's not going to be happy about that. You see the actual reaction there. Oh, that's amazing.
Joe, you suck at rolling dice, my friend.
Wow, okay.
Just a great human, just really bad at rolling dice.
He is a great human being. That's really fun. Yeah. Okay, so what we find, Adam can finish off the goss if he's got it from the room. We'll do that, and then we'll find out what's going to happen after that. Heartbreaking.
Ben takes the turn. Surprise, surprise.
Wow, get ready, Joe, because you're about to feel pleasure and pain. Mr. Chuck.
Hey, so yeah, I'm just going to give you the last bits of the roundup that I've got so far. As you can hear, my voice is going a little bit. It's getting louder as the day goes on. It gets louder and louder in here, so you have to shout to be heard when you're next to the players. So just moving on then. So we've just given you the update of Darren versus Speckles. They're now back after with pints in hands and more tequila downed. But moving on, we've got Adam Kunis versus Paul's Skavens. Adam Kunis ordered Draconis, fairly famously ran them last year, did really, really well, especially at BOBO. And so what was happening? Adam was making a really hard push towards the warp seer, towards Paul's warp seer, making a really, really great run of it. But the warp seer just wouldn't move, wouldn't go down, saves all over the place, shrugs and all the rest of it. So wounds just weren't getting through, so it's just demoralizing for Adam. Adam then got double turned by Paul, and it's just completely gone away from him. So Paul did a great job, and he's just walking back with the pint himself, I think. And he has taken that victory because he's basically just managed to wipe out Adam's main dragons and his main bulk of his army. Steve Dooley versus Tim Fisher. So this is Darkling Covens versus Gloomspike Gitz. Steve is still really, really pushing hard, and he's making an amazing push there. So I said earlier we've got the Mangler Squig and the Loon Boss and Mangler Squig that had failed their charge. Well, they're not going to be even attempting any more charges because they're dead. They're gone. Table 24, Miles versus James. Now, James looks like he is absolutely smashing Miles to pieces, but they're both smiling, they're both rolling dice, they're both having a great time. I know like James's last game was a really like bum-clenchingly tight, tense game, and it ended in what was kind of some turbulent waters, as it were. He's actually stood next to the person he played against last time. So it's kind of an interesting air around those tables there. But Miles and James look to be having a fantastic game. They're just rolling dice each other, enjoying their games. Miles is a great guy. James is a quality fellow as well. So that's going really well. That is all I've got. I'm going to hand back to Nathan now. Rob's on away, so you're not going to get Rob for a few minutes. But as soon as Rob is back, he'll join Nathan. But for now, back to you, Nathan.
So here we are back at the table. Ben fails to cast the Catechism of Murder prayer on that unit of Sisters of Slaughter, but does manage to get Mind Razor through, so he's still got the extra rend, extra sharp knives.
Extra sharp knives. Welcome back to the Bravery One British Open. Adam did a smashing job there, didn't he? You are watching Hedonites versus Daughters of Khaine, turn 2. In the first turn, priority roll went to Ben. Got to choose who goes first in the first turn. He gave the turn away. Joe moved into the midfield. Ben then counter-attacked, wiped out some some Seekers, engaged some Fiends, and then they got into a tight battle on the tabletop. and then the priority role was gone to Ben. I personally feel that this makes it Ben's game. I don't know about you. What do you think?
Yeah,
Nate?
I definitely puts Ben in the driving seat. He's got a great chance to be able to get into that kipper and give it the Keep of Secrets and give it a good stabbing, which is always fun. And then he set up really nicely in the middle to deal with that block of fiends. Which those are the main threats, I would say, from the Slaanesh army. I mean, the big unit of demonettes is quite tasty, but they're sort of out on a limb at the moment over there, and they are tied to that objective. So if Joe's army is reduced to only really competing for one objective, the game's going to go one way, because you're not going to get enough points, are you, when there's 4 objectives and you can only control 1.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Marathi being, like we talked about before, Marathi being lumped on that top objective makes it very tough to deal with. And not having the wounds already added on to Marathi. I think Marathi's taken 2 wounds on the top, but it just takes...
So here's the hero phase ability where you can pile in an attack in the hero phase. So
old school always strikes first.
Yeah, forget about at the start of the combat phase. Just do it 3 or 4 phases beforehand.
Which is a solid tactic, and it is very, very scary. And I know that Luvo in the chat called it already.
Oh, really? So that's interesting. Something pointed out from the table. The Sisters of Slaughter ability to pile in 6 is only in the combat phase. So in the hero phase, they only pile in an attack 3 inches, like all the rest
like
of
regular
us
folk.
Plebs.
Yeah, as regular folk. just trying our hardest. Rolling natural dice rolls to cast, rolling natural dice rolls to charge. It almost feels quaint at this stage, seeing something only piling 3 inches. Although it's happening in the hero phase, so it's a little bit janky, which is okay.
Yeah, a load of extra attacks. It's going to be interesting to see how Ben handles that Keeper Secret. So the 6-inch pile-in is going to be less useful against the Keeper Secrets because you do have to be within 6 to pile in. So that does mean that you will be within range of the Keeper's 6-inch ability.
Yes.
So it is a 6-inch ability.
6-inch ability.
Yeah. So
the locus.
The locus points. So will he stay outside of 6? Charge a model into the unit that's not that far away of demonettes, and then string out all the rest of his sisters in a circle around the Keeper Secrets, just outside of 6, and then they can then pile in the 6 and be within an inch to be able to stab the Keeper. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, that's the sort of tactic I'd be looking at, but Ben is a master tactician. I'm sure he's got some things up his sleeve.
I'd say the things about Ben to say are, not only is he a solid gamer, like as in before whatever army you give him, you're then given an army that he's played competitively for nearly a year, maybe over a year.
Yeah.
Played consistently and competently to many victories. An army that's very, very good, and then you're just going, okay, here's an advantage, here's the priority role. And you're like, okay, that is just an overwhelming volume of good.
Yeah, he's gonna take advantage of any little advantages away. So,
yeah, Mace in the chat has made a good point. I want to say thank you to Elise for something as well, saying, why don't you just have them 6.5 inches away?
Oh, but then they can't pile in 6. So you can only pile in 6 if you're within 6.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying you charge the unit of demonettes and then stay 6.5 away from the Keeper. And then because you've charged, you can still pile in. Some of them will have to go into the demonettes, fair enough, but you should be able to still get enough into the Keeper Secrets to give her a good stabbing. Or him, or it.
Or them, or whatever sausage they identify as. Twitch chat, if you guys are interested, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Facebook, or if you're watching on YouTube, then you can, if you use the Twitch emoticons, you can actually put whether or not you think who you think's going to win, or just who you're rooting for. There's a blue emoticon and there's a red emoticon. So if you're voting for Ben, and the Daughters of Khaine, red. If you vote for Joe and the Hedonites, blue. It's really easy. I just want to see what the Twitch chat got to say. Nathan, not only who do you think's going to win, and who are you rooting for? Different questions.
Different questions. I definitely think Ben, the red emoticon, is in the driving seat. Really, I would like to put a blue emoticon down because I would like to see Joe winning a few games of Warhammer, which he does do quite a bit more than we give him credit for.
Yeah.
But he's ever such a nice gent. So I'm going to back him up, my mate.
He is
Joe.
proper kind. He is a really solid fella. The Twitch chat is going for it. Mornblade reckons blue. Spit on Pigeons red. Big Old Fish says red. And then Warhammer Nerds all about the blue. So big team numbers there. Big team numbers.
Oh yeah.
Oh
He's
tease.
putting lots of bold blue domes down for some reason. But
Yeah.
here we go. Look. So I think Ben is going around. He's skirting the Keeper of Secrets. So he's either just going to go full in for the Demonettes and just go for the gold, or he's going to use that tactic which we were talking about, where he can pile in from just outside of 6 and get some stabbing in on the Keeper.
Means they're going to be able to strike first, which I think means the Keeper of Secrets is going to go down. I can't quite express to you how gorgeous this army is. In fact, the Keeper of Secrets army, Keeper of Secrets army, that's what it is.
Yeah.
The Hedonites Ascension army, I'm pretty certain our on-man on the ground, the wonderful Mr. John Scrivens, actually will be able to show us a picture. John? And you guys at home, or who just tuned in, can check out how cool
That army looks.
the
yeah,
army
it
looks. 'Cause
really
it looks,
sweet.
Here we go. It's crazy pretty.
Yeah.
Taken by Chris. So actually, what's really funny is this is Joe's army. It's gorgeous. It got commission painted by Studio Earthwood, who is Ben, who he's playing.
Yeah. So all the models on the table are ones that Ben's painted, and
Every single model,
freaking
apart from the
great.
terrain. So
Yeah.
that terrain you can see in the background is made by Dark Fantastic Mills.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So if you guys just type in !terrain, you'll see. And the board looks like it's been custom built for these two armies to play on. It looks really
it does
cool.
tie nicely in with the paint jobs.
Yeah.
So Gary from Dark Fantastic,
He's here at the event.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's playing in the event.
Let's go back.
I don't think he plays that often, but he got to play against Tim and his crazy Godrak.
Tim Fisher?
Yeah, no, Tim.
Oh, Warboss Timmy.
Yeah, Warboss Timmy and his crazy Godrak and all the Skald Mob Horde list. So he was in for an unpleasant surprise as the Fanatics went crazy and did like 39 damage to his Great Unclean Ones each. But there you go. That's what happens. When
Done unsupervised. How could Ben Sava lose on a table covered in lava? He is one with the hotness.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. Hashtag so hot right now. I'm pretty certain hashtag so hot right now has actually got a. Oh, he's elected to fall back.
Oh. So he's had his cheeky hero phase fight, and then he's withdrawn. Interesting.
Yeah,
I
very
guess.
interesting.
Oh.
He can retreat and charge.
He can. So if he is still within 6, though, he can still pile in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it does mean you can make sure that you've got your own activations set up the way you want. So if you have to charge with a unit, then and you will still want your other unit fighting, just withdraw outside of 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then pile back in. So
Easy
good.
peasy.
So good.
That's is that science, Steve?
Science. It's magic. That's what it is. There's magic in the air.
And it's all around. And we've seen the stats for these armies as well, haven't we? With the meta-analysis, they've got like a 45% win rate each. No, not 45%. Sorry, 65 to 61% win rate each across the globe. So with the Hedonites being a fairly new stat, but you know they're the new kids in the block. But it shows you just how dominating Daughters of Khaine have been.
Yeah.
The only reason that you've seen Flesh Eater Courts dominate so much is they're just so easy to put on the tabletop and play. You are having to actually see, like you saw there, the retreat out of combat. That's quite a big deal. Yeah,
Yes.
that's actually a little. Tomb King, thank you so much for the 100-bit donation, 200-bit donation for Slaanesh. For that babe Slaanesh. Wait, is Slaanesh had a baby? That'd be cool. That'd be the second Bobo baby.
A baby. So the daughters Khaine are doing their shooting thing. That's the little heart renders, and I think Marathi does a bit of shooting as well. So
Sorry, to go back to my point, the technical know-how to be dropping a unit out to charge it in later, it's a lot. A lot of people don't think you just push the daughters Khaine army forward.
yeah. Well, you got the flexibility. You can drop it back out, and then you still don't even need to charge. You can just pile back in. So yeah, dead dirty, but really good, really useful. That 6-inch piling that the Sisters of Slaughter have is just so good. To me, when I first saw the book, when I saw that unit,
Well, we did.
they
If
were
you guys,
just super strong.
I mean, if you guys
units
actually
too.
just want to go and listen to the first impressions, me and Nate, we went through the book, didn't we?
Yeah.
You can listen to that as a podcast or watch it back on YouTube or anywhere, and we just said Hagnar's the one,
Well,
and there it was.
Yeah. For me, it's the Sisters of Slaughter with their 6-inch piling. It's just such a great mechanic.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is you might see Ben just elect not to go into the keeper, and he might just play the game. He's just all about the points. He's not letting anything go. He's like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna kill all those demonettes, because he's not giving any depravity points away. He's not letting any of it happen. He's just like, I'm gonna go secure that objective. Yeah, and I think that's really solid.
Yeah, that's a solid tactic. Like I said, if you can just take all the gold from under his feet, that's even, that's crazy, because then all that Joe's really got is his unit of fiends, which might end up back in a fight sooner than they expect, and the Keeper of Secrets. So anyway, yeah, it does look like Ben is going to concentrate on the demonettes now.
So yeah, so he's elected to just avoid the Keeper of Secrets, which I think is really interesting. But he's still. I'm right in thinking he's still going to have to make sure he stays outside of 6 inches of the Keeper of Secrets. Otherwise, he's going to strike last, and then the the demonettes are going to be able to strike before him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Robertson, our pleasure, man. I hope everyone who's watching is enjoying the show. If you want to let us know exactly where in the world you're watching from, I'd really like that. Bill was just talking about our new overlay. I know it's quite different to what we've done before. I think it's really clever. Both players have had a turn, that's why it's in a black square. And then whoever's got the priority, which is currently Ben, you got a little flashy symbol to see whose turn it is. Real simple, real easy. Yeah, but I'd love to know where you guys are watching from and if you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Careful placement, making sure they're outside of 6, and that. So he's getting some into the old demonettes. He wants to put a bit of hurt onto them, and it's just a case of, I wonder whether he is going to pile into that Keeper of Secrets, or if he's just going to be screening off. So yeah, I think Ben, when he first charged, thought the locus was a 3-inch thing, but Joe's pointed out it does have to be 6. So Ben's redeploying his charge, making sure that they didn't go within 6. So that's good of Joe to inform him and make sure that he has the chance to correct that.
See, that's why Joe has won multiple Best Sports Awards, because he's just like, do you want to be within 6, Ben? Because then I can do this thing. And then Ben's like, no, I don't want to be, and then he's correcting his movement. Which, Joe's just a solid gamer. I saw it when I went to the table for a quick overview earlier. He was like, are we rolling anything? If it lands on the flat, is it? That's the only way we're letting dice lay? And then Ben was like, yeah. That's what you get when players are playing at this level. They just know the rules and they know how to follow them really well. Just, Nathan, as you listen to what's happening in the game, I'm going to talk to the Twitch chat. So hello, everyone. Great seeing you. Joe Boom's working in Sweden. Tomb King Tristan's making a fish stew in the east of Canada. Nice. Elko Rob is watching from Mexico.
Cool.
We got Milton Keynes. Macy's watching and listening. War Chief Baz loving the coverage from sunny Gloucester. Columbus, Ohio for Bill Robertson. or US for the geographically challenged, which he knows is me. Makato's watching from Japan, top quality coverage. Thank you so much. Des Moines from Iowa, USA. Woodland King enjoying the coverage of Scotland. And painting up a K Shaman. Oh yeah.
Good man, good
Git
man.
Lee, hey babe. Benny's holding the personal strings in this game, that's true. Asmodai, yeah, this is the shit. Good. Rograt says it's so hot in here, which is true. Wezzles, yeah, you guys are enjoying it, good. Spit on Pigeons, London, loving the coverage. Painting the awful orphanage while being pissed, says Big Old Fish. Hi Frank, Sweden from Mackie Mac, and then Venice Beach. Painting more Kernoth Hunter, says Pete over in Ireland. York, or possibly Gork. And then Dan Surprise watching a top tense pile of stress that LOV will tank my dispossessed stats. He actually has already given up a loss, so I'm sorry about that. While we get to, it's been great talking to you guys. You're about to, in the Twitch chat, you're about to hear him live on the TV. You're about to see a man who's going to tell you what's happening in the rest of the tournament. If you want to leave any thoughts or what you'd like him to cover from the event in the Twitch chat, someone will collate that information and get him back to it at some point. But we'll see. We'll be back in a minute.
Hey guys, right, I'm back with a fairly brief update. So we've got some games that are all that are kind of wrapping up. So I'm just going to hop straight to table 5. This is Tom with Fleshy at Courts versus Richie with his Gloomspike Gits. So far, 5-5 is really even, but there are grots everywhere. Richie, his thoughts are, it's not going to go his way unless something fairly miraculous happens, purely because of points. I think he's struggling with mobility at the moment. He's got plenty more models than Tom has got, but he's just struggling with mobility to get those models where they should be. So he's it's a really close one. It's going to carry on being close, I think. 5-5 at the moment. We'll catch up with that a little bit later on. So we've got, moving on then, we've wrapped up with Adam Kunis versus Paul. We wrapped that up earlier. Adam Kunis losing that one. 22, Steve Dooley versus Tim Fisher. Tim with his Gloomspike Gits. And so Dooley was winning, but was losing, sorry. He's kind of on his way down, but not out. And he's not going down without some healthy kill points. I still think it could go a different way. But table 24, Miles versus James. Miles is definitely going down swinging. Unfortunately for Miles, they're in a great game though. They're having a really cool game. You walk over there, the air is light. They're just rolling dice at each other. James is grumbling because the one endless spell he's been trying to cast, he just hasn't been able to get it off. So Miles is just the spell queen in that effect. So James is ahead by 2. Doesn't look like Miles is going to be able to kind of capitalise and fight back and claim a huge amount back on that one. So that one looks like it's going down to James. Looking on, I'm going to pull back to Dan and Jack in a moment. But looking at, so we've got Dispossessed Wars, right? LLV, who was voted to have the Dispossessed. If you saw the interview earlier on, LLV versus Tuggy. Tuggy is now fired up. He was saying to me earlier, he's like, he's never ever played Dispossessed so seriously and been so focused on trying to win. So he's going up against James right now. James has got Stormcast Eternals, and it's close, but it does look like it's Tuggy's to lose. Not in a sense that it's like, oh, he's definitely won it and it's just a lose. It's just that if he plays his card right and doesn't make any big mistakes, Tuggy's going to win it, right? So, and he's so desperate to win it and get a win and pull ahead of LLV as much as possible. Purely, we're looking over at LLV versus Chris with the Maggotkin. That's currently 4-4. They're meeting in the middle. I don't know that LLV is going to have the punch to take out the Maggotkin, but we'll have to see. I'm going to come back to that one. Finally then, I'm just going to give you an update on Jack and Dan's game. That does look like it's going Jack's way. Dan, as I said earlier, the death frenzy that he wasn't able to cast on his units to allow them to fight when they died and pump out mortal wounds when they died. Didn't go off, so and he straight away. Dan just stood back and were like, "That's it, that's my game done." And it does look like he's right. So we're bottom of turn 3 now. I think we actually just gone into turn 4. Jack had just double turned Dan, just at the point we really didn't need it. So that absolutely looks like it's going Jack's way. We're going to see Jack in the on the top tables. We might well see them face again later on if Jack doesn't do so well against some of the higher tables. We might see them squaring off again later on. But that's all I've got for you now. I'm going to hand back to Rob and Nathan, and I'll bring you an update later on.
Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer. We are live at BOBO in Lincoln, 2019 200-player match play event of Age of Sigmar. Nathan, have you ever seen so many pasty white fellas in one place?
Well, not since I watched that zombie movie, but seriously, here we are watching the Hedonites of Slaanesh under the command of Joe Purcell.
Joe, the man himself, Purcell. And then, yes, Mr.
Versus Ben Sava, and his really hot Daughters of Khaine.
Hashtag so hot right now, versus the Daughters of Khaine. And look,
Ben Savage, savaging.
Ravage,
Yeah.
Ben Ravage. Look, so in the very first turn, there was a huge roll off for the dice. If you guys are watching the video back, if you're watching live, watch at the start, which basically, because they're both 5-drop armies, decided who got to deploy first, which meant you got to decide who got to choose who goes first.
Yep.
Ben won that dice roll, which meant he got to choose who went first. They then did deployment, knowing that Ben got the choice. Joe then deployed, I would say, conservatively, with some units of fiends here and some screens, and then his keeper and some fiends. Then in the Ben gave the turn to Joe. Joe moved it all forward, putting some screens up. Ben then in his turn, which Joe hasn't had his turn to yet, Ben in his turn moved forward. He took out this unit of Seekers. He's taken out this unit of Seekers here on the top right hand side. He took out the unit of
Demonettes that were
Demonettes,
controlling that objective.
Controlling that objective. Marathi grew big, went over here, cleared this objective as well. He also then piled in to the Fiends, which you can see here. Yeah, he's lost the epitome as well out of combat from Marathi here. So Joe's lost a lot of his key pieces in what effectively has been 2 turns since he had a go.
Yeah, so mainly it looks like Joe's got the Enchantress. She's hanging out over here. And then he's got a few of his Fiends left here. And the Keeper. Yeah, his army's been pretty decimated. That was pretty impressive work from Ben. Just putting the boot in and giving Joe a good kicking.
Yeah. As much as they're friends, he's not, and they are really good friends. There is no way that Ben is letting this slip through his fingers. I'm right in thinking, or Nathan, I don't know if you agree, but I feel like Ben's got a couple of targets out there in the field. He's got a couple of people he maybe wants to take down. And I don't think Joe was one of them, but I think Joe might be a victim of getting in his way.
Collateral damage. Yeah. You stand in the way, you get stabbed.
That's basically what we're seeing. It's also, and I've got to tell you, I also kind of like the narrative bent of these two armies playing against each other, Hedonites and Daughters. Obviously, if you've read the narrative, and a lot of the match players aren't too stressed about it, but it's pretty cool. And watching them on the tabletop the Daughters kind of have that natural evasion to some of the Keeper of Secrets, to the Hedonites' kind of special abilities.
Yeah.
It's quite cool. And also watching Marathi be like, I trapped you in a prison, I'll trap you again, and then murdering some of those Hedonites is a big deal.
Yeah. She's really good in situations like this with her Iron Heart ability, where she's only going to be taking the 3 wounds. She's great. You can commit her into places which you wouldn't be able to commit other big characters, really. The dancing backwards and forwards with the unit of Sisters of Slaughter in the middle in the hero phase, getting that extra round of attacks, and then dancing back away, but still within 6 so that you can then return later on in the combat phase just to pick take off some more wounds. He's definitely had a great go at chipping away at that unit of fiends in the centre.
Yeah, with the piling in the hero phase.
Yeah. And retreating, but then piling back in the combat phase because of their 6-inch.
It's a bit over the top, right?
Piling. Oh, it's dancing around, slashing and bashing. They're having a great time.
They are having a great time, and I know Joe knows he's up against it. I think Joe especially feels like a lot of his tricks are just out of the window. Like he's like, I can attack, but you're going to pile in 6.
Yeah, he's got to be careful what units he chooses as well. Going into units that have got the blessing of Khaine on,
it's just a mistake. And I say that as almost every unit in the game, I would feel, is Plague Monks. They can go in.
Yeah, loads of damage there. It's just so many saves. It's that double 5-up ward save. It does, unless you're going to put an amazing amount. So like a Flesh Eater called Dragon will probably go through them eventually. Double pile in and all of that malarkey.
Yes, potentially. But if you did the double Dragon, right, you did both in 4 pile-ins.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 1,600 points of combat.
You've got to really commit a lot of resources to clear them.
You've also got to have the tools.
Whereas you can just go in and kill something else.
You're telling me my 10 hard boys can't do it?
Afraid not. Well, maybe if you got like 20 wars off.
What about my 6 Colonel Hunters with swords? That's right, swords.
Yeah, if they were looking the other way, maybe. But I don't think that happens very often.
I don't think that does happen.
They've got eyes in the back of their heads.
So we're currently in the combat phase, or the ongoing combat phase of Ben's second turn. That's effectively where we are in the game.
I think I've just seen Joe piling in with. Oh yes, Joe's piled in with his Enchantress.
So Dan, supervisor, the chat is saying that 10 hammers could do it. Dan, unfortunately, in game 1 we did see Dispossessed play against Darkling Covens. We saw 20 hammers unable to kill a sorceress on a black dragon over several turns.
We're into Joe's turn. So Joe's got a charge coming up. He's pointing, he's pondering, he's picked up those cuboids.
Is he not doing any spell? Oh, well, his Epitome's dead, isn't it?
Epitome's dead.
Epitome's dead. The
Keeper
Keeper can cast some spells, so there's the opportunity there. Plus, there is a lot of units going to be within 6 inches if he does cast the mirror. So if he gets the mirror off, you're going to see...
Right, forget about magic, just charge. And that's what he's done. Go on, Joe.
So he's not doing the magic phase?
No, the magic's for girls. Oh, but you're playing with girls, Joe. Do the magic.
Did you say magic's for girls? But Joe's playing with girls, so it's fine.
Oh, dear. But, I don't know. Maybe Joe has forgotten, or maybe he failed to cast any spells.
Yeah. I think he's just elected not to. I think Joe knows that he can't clear Marathi at that top left-hand objective. And then he also is very, very quickly running out of units that can threaten. So here is a line of Sisters of Slaughter which are unbeaten. Over here is a line of Sisters of Slaughter against the Keeper of Secrets. Joe really doesn't have any tools apart from a couple of fiends left here, and they're not going to go through those. It just shows you, and the Cauldron of Blood, in case you're interested, which is what's giving the buffs out here, is just absolutely. We talked about it before. Joe's like, how do you get to it? I'm like, well, if you can get to the Cauldron, which you can't, which is why I think currently the Idoneth Deepkin are like the choice. I don't think that they win all of the games. I don't think they're the top list out there. But you're going to see Hedonites of Slaanesh just run over armies. Daughters of Khaine still do it. Legion of Nagast still do it. And Skaven and Flesh Eater Courts. But I would say that Idoneth have got such a unique set of tools, especially the Eels build. They can just go so fast. They can make it so that their whole armies always strikes first. So they've got so many options available to them. Yeah. Realistically, that they're a nice counter pick. I would pick that. They're my counter pick army at the minute.
Yeah, if you're going to try and play the meta, the Deepkin are definitely a lovely army to play against the meta. Potentially, your problematic thing might be the Skaven, but but I do think.
But you can
know,
go quite,
the
you can go
IDNF
quite, you can go quite low drops with IDNF.
Yeah.
So you normally, and because you can deep strike and get pluses to charge, and you fly, and that's what we're seeing here. We've seen two combat armies, but arguably, and the Slaanesh have been touted as the combat army to come. But what we've seen here is potentially they're not.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I really think Slaanesh are going to be taking names in the months to come.
Well, I still think we could see some Slaanesh matches over the next over tomorrow during the competitive day.
Yeah. Definitely. They're very impressive, the tools that they've got, and with the sneaky summoning abilities that they have, really pushes them into the forefront.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, like we talked about at the start, Joe's army is a little bit up against it because there aren't many multi-wound models, and Marathi being the big multi-wound model that's on the board, and multi-wound models are the way that obviously the Hedonites get the priority points out there on the tabletop. Just means that because you can only do 3 damage to Marathi, it just means you're up against it.
Yeah. Marathi is the daughters are still such a good army, and well, we've seen it on the tabletop in the hands of a great player like Ben.
In the hands of a great player like Ben, they are very impactful. But like Uncle GM says in the chat, I think Ben Sister Slaughter play along with a double turn really swung this game in a hard way. I don't think it's a good indicator of how Slaanesh is going to play out. I would say though, if you go back and listen to how I was talking before the priority roll happens, I would say that I think personally that the priority roll was maybe incidental realistically, because you will have got I think Ben prepped for it by having everything locked in combat.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, obviously with the new terrain, in the spells, everybody's getting a chance to deep strike in answer to Treaty Ness's question. But going back to the tabletop, so we have seen that Keeper of Secrets, even into that buffed up unit of Sisters of Slaughter, taking all 14 of them.
14?
Yeah, so that's pretty.
Wow.
Pretty choppy.
That's really good. Yeah. Thankfully, they won't have to suffer a battle shock test.
Yeah, they've had a little sip out of the cup, and battle shock is not for them. Yeah. So she has the ability to activate her command ability and pile in again and do it all again. So there's a good chance that will happen.
So maybe that Keeper of Secrets takes out that whole unit of Sisters of Slaughter, at which point Joe just has to use it to kill the other unit of Sisters of Slaughter, Marathi.
And the Cauldron.
And the Cauldron.
And also claim all the objectives.
Do you think he can do it? I mean, it's really early time-wise. Not time-wise, but it's really early game-wise.
I mean, it's a big ask. It is possible, but I think Joe's head has dropped a little, so it's whether he believes, and I don't think that's something that Joe's believing in at the moment. He's just there rolling some dice, having some fun.
I think he is. I think if we cut to a shot of the players, John, we'll be able to see that they're both in a tense manner. Like currently, look at the fierce faces there. Yeah, right. Ben in that kind of commanding, domineering. I know what latte you would drink pose, and then you've got Joe in the "this is a business meeting. I've listened to chumps like you all my life, and I haven't got time for your shit." Yeah, that is some classic business etiquette. And Ben looks like, to be honest, it looks like Ben's interviewing for a job.
Sure. What sort of job is that?
However, if we go back to the tabletop, hopefully it will come back raw.
Jonathan reckons Ben's got the job.
yeah, I think he's got the job answer.
He's given him.
Telopoulos says a job interview with no sleep. They're checking it. Let's see what's happening here. I'm sure we'll find out from the tabletop what's happening here.
Looks like
it's going to be combat, because that's all that's happening is combat. It's it's been an hour of combat all day long. Oh, Nath, is it combat? Has he told you?
No idea. No, Jonathan.
Is it combat, Jonathan?
Still.
And which combats are you fighting? We'll find that out now.
So this is the second activation from the Keeper of Secrets.
Whoa, okay. So the Keeper of Secrets might go through. Priority roll could genuinely be big.
It will be interesting to see how, just because
he's
it's one of the first few times that we see the Pretender. 20 damage from one attack from the Keeper.
20 damage. So, but obviously that unit's got a save, and then wow.
So that's the claw attacks that do the 5 damage. So yeah. Because it's a Pretender, it gets the bonus attacks and everything. Actually makes the Keeper pretty killy. So there you go, taking off the rest of that unit.
The whole unit's gone. That is amazing. I am actually impressed.
So yeah, I really think the damage output that the certain builds that the Keeper of Secrets can do.
But if Joe gets a priority, he's got the Cauldron right there to get. Yeah, if he takes the Cauldron out, yeah, he's going to get a ton of depravity points. Game turns 3, 4, 5. He could genuinely put enough units still on the board to score.
Yeah. He doesn't need big units because there's not a lot. There won't be a lot left. So yeah.
Because like we said, his army, because of the summoning, is it potentially gains 4. Is it potentially turn 4-5 win?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that could be really massive. So while we're waiting for this combat to happen, we'll go and see Adam on the tabletop now. Sorry. I'm so sorry, there was a bell end doing things. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk to Mr. Chuckabuddy on the tabletop.
I'm not on the tabletop yet, but ask me in about 6 points' time, and I will be on the tabletop, don't you worry. Right now, though, I'm going to give you a bit of an update on the kind of a roundup on what's been going on. So, Table 5, this is Tom versus Richie. This is very much Richie's game. He's just teleported a whole load of his grots. They are packing up now, so I'm pretty sure it went the way that he was hoping. It just teleported a whole load of his grots into the back lines of Tom's fleshy at courts, moved it on to the point, and then I think basically held all 4 points. That's kind of curtains. That game is very much finished. I've got some news for you with Darren versus Speckles. I'll come back to that in a minute. We've got Dan versus Jack. This is Jack with his Daughters of Khaine. Has overwhelmed. Dan has just succumbed to the failings of the Death Frenzy spell that he wasn't able to get off on 2 occasions early on in the game. So, unfortunately for Dan, that's gone Jack's way. Jack played a great game though, and he absolutely played it in the right way. So that was fantastic. Table 22, Steve Dooley absolutely smashed it. So he's beaten Tim Fisher's Gloomspite Gits. Got it, nailed it. And they're just playing for kill points. So they're just rolling dice, having a bit of a laugh, finishing off a couple of pints, and then heading to the bar, I would imagine. Right down the back there, over my left shoulder, you've got Miles versus James. This is Skaven versus Ideneth. James he's got 17-3, and it's in James's favour. Bottom of turn 4, so it's just started turn 4. Miles' turn, but I don't think he can mathematically pull that back, so that's James's. Again, they're having a great game. I think they've both got 2 models left on the board. One of them happens to be a Vermin Lord for Miles, so that's going great. Table 54, LLV with his Dwarfs versus Chris with his Maggotkin, and Table 73, Tuggy versus James Stormcast Eternals. Tuggy versus James, still to play for. That's not, it's not kind of nail in the coffin just yet. And finally then, LLV versus Chris's Maggotkin. Chris has just double turned LLV, So that's dispossessed, have just failed to win that one as well. So unfortunately, it looks like LLV is going to go 1 and 2. I can't work out the thing. He's won 1, failed to win 2. Tuggy has got a potential win on the board. I'm going to hand right back to Rob and Nathan now for you with the latest on the tabletop.
Welcome back. I mean, this is absolutely so tense. So this is the priority roll going into turn 3.
Yeah,
so
cool.
I think we're about to see the priority roll set up. John's going to do the overlay. This is going to be huge. Because if Joe gets that, he could potentially still win the game. Yeah, so he's like so ready. He sat down.
Ready,
That's how ready he is. So the priority roll is we're good to go. And Nathan, I'm not laughing I'm not joking when I say that it absolutely could change the shape of the game, and like Joe could still win. I think.
Oh yeah, I think it's quite a good case of not giving up too early.
So who's your number?
Pretender, who's pretending to be Slaanesh, she can go and stab things. That was very impressive watching her take out a whole unit of buffed up Sisters of Slaughter.
Yeah, so if you guys in the chat, who's Steve's not that guy. If you guys see in the chat, you see blue is going to be Hedonites of Slaanesh. Red is for Daughters of Khaine, and you can put in the Twitch chat. You can put in the Twitch chat a little emoji of which one you think could win it. Nathan, who's your money on? Who you rooting for? You got a bestie.
I still think my head is saying Ben is still in the driving seat, but my heart is with Joe. Come on, Joe.
Joe saying hello. Joe's grandstanding. Joe's grandstanding and just doesn't care. But look at that. Ben's they're both just refusing to roll priority and instead watching themselves on the telly.
Come on, you two chumps. Roll the dice. Joe,
they're
pick
waiting.
up the dice.
No, they
Roll
don't
the
care.
dice.
Look at that. This is what wargamers are like. They're just annoying.
Stop it. Oh,
Joe's got it. He's got the roll. Joe knows he can still play. Oh, my God. No, he could. He could.
So did Joe... So you walked up to the table earlier.
Yeah.
Does Joe got the glint in his eye? He is aware of the fact that he can
I
still
don't know
win.
if he knows he could win,
Yeah.
but he absolutely could, yeah. And setting up that priority cam roll has been worth its weight in whatever I've had to do, which is mainly be upset.
Yeah. Wow. So
Will he take it, though? He's so gonna take it.
it's worth its weight in gold. Or ether gold. Is it gaseous gold or solid gold? Yeah.
It's massive though, Nathan, right? What did you think of that?
Yeah. Well, that makes it an interesting game for us anyway.
For us.
I'm really curious as to what's going through Joe's mind, if anything.
I don't know if Joe knows he can win.
Yeah.
Because he can put, so let's talk about this now. He takes a turn, he can go over there and just wreck those nerds as well.
Yeah.
So that those Sisters of Slaughter can go get absolutely hammered. But personally, I think probably the smart choice is to go round, and take out the, I've done that a bit badly, sorry. Go round and take out the cauldron, and give that a kick in. That's going to be pretty big. Then he secures this objective, do some summoning. Yeah. Oh, go on, you've got some thoughts.
So my thoughts are, I mean...
Oh my God, I'm so tense now.
The summoning would be great. Even if he can summon the arse end of something, just go over there and claim that thing. And get this thing over here. Because
so the keeper?
Yeah, the keeper. So look what's here. There's a unit there and there. You've got a chance of a double pile-in with the old keeper of secrets.
Oh, you sneaky fuck!
You
What's
can
to
take
do
out
both?
her and then take out a load of them, obviously with the help of your mates, them fiends. Just having a grand time killing loads of stuff. But it's just whether he's got enough DPs in his pocket to be able to summon something over on that objective, because you really do need to start putting some points on the board.
He does
now.
need to start putting, but he could snowball. There isn't long left on the clock, unfortunately. Yeah, so I think it could go to Ben. But I would say that he could snowball this turn through. If he did what you said, Nate, put some summoning down on the tabletop, Oh, there's something bad happened. I imagine he's trying to cast.
Trying to cast a spell. I don't think the spells are that important unless you got one that can give you extra depravity points.
He does have one. I don't think he's taken it, but there is one inside of it.
That's fine. He was trying to cast Arcane Bolt, so it doesn't matter. I mean, sure. Whatever. Joe.
Come on, Joe. Twitch chat, who's your money on? Do you think Joe can pull it around?
Bolt.
Yeah, do you think he's got it?
What the hell is he thinking?
So he's going to be able to... Oh, I don't know what I would do in this situation. Heralicious reckons Ben still got it. I think a lot of people have still got the potential.
I do think... I mean, my heart is saying that Ben's still got it. Yeah. We are in a fortunate position looking down on it from on top here.
What's sad for Joe is he's also against the time as well.
Yeah.
So it could just get called through time. Tomb King Tristan reckons that that Muppet has no chance. And then truthiness, I unconditionally root against Marathi, which I agree with.
Yeah, that's not a bad shot.
9 out of 10 times I'm against Marathi, 100%.
Yeah.
That would be 90% though, right?
It's a very painful experience if you've ever had to play against her. And she's the main reason why I would be taking the Aether Void Pendulum. Because
Marathi?
Yeah, just shove it up her crack.
Nathan, you seem to have become...
So here we got some DPs in action. We are bringing out some summoned units.
Summoned units.
Yeah,
I thought so. How many DPs did we think Slaanesh have to put on the tabletop?
So it's a unit of demonettes, 10 demonettes. Yeah.
10 demonettes, and we're going to see them placed on, I think, the bottom objective.
I would say so.
That's the right decision.
Yeah.
There we go. So we secured the objective.
That gives your keeper the freedom to be able to go and kill loads of stuff.
Get loads of stuff. I would love it. Do you think he's going to go for the? He's going to go for the double activation on the cauldron. So just wipe the cauldron,
turn around and stab those things. I mean, they are engaged with some fiends, which are also pretty scary in a fight. So there's a good chance that Ben's going to lose. The right-hand side and a good chunk of the center, leaving him only with 10 witches, Marathi and some heart renders still kicking about. But then still, Joe hasn't exactly got the most number of models on the board either. So yeah, it's been a pretty bloody day on the battlefield.
It has. Especially. I think he's going to measure around and not go. I think he's going to go through into the cauldron. I think is going to be the plan.
Yeah.
But we'll see what that's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, going the other way, where you try and get in between both units, is quite awkward because there is a big piece of terrain there. I don't think the keeper's base would.
Mornblade in the chat. Mornblade in the chat does say, "Dig deep, Joe. Remember Nathan the Penetrator," which I can't say I disagree with.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he needs to keep in mind.
Well, he's contemplating because he's just put little sticks down. He just needs to get out there and move that bastard around. Get stuck in. Come on, Joe.
Come on, Joe. You know, I believe in you at this stage. I'm very tense. I'm very trapped in there, and I want to know what's happening.
Why has he not moved the keeper?
I see, but would he even kill enough of that unit of sisters in the centre for their attack and then counter attack again?
So there's still one sister left.
That was the arcane bolt. There's one sister of slaughter who's immune to battle shock. There's one sister. Okay, so that's why that keeper sequence isn't moving. There's one sister of slaughter locked in combat, immune to battle shock, and that means that keeper. So he's going to try and pile around that and then still attack the Cauldron of Blood.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. We'll come to that activation in a moment. That's why we saw the Arcane Bolt, Nath. That's what we were going for.
Definitely.
So let's go to Mr. Adam Chuckabutty now, I think, and let's find out. Let's see a quick interview with the best player of a faction in the whole world.
Darkling Cummins, they're doing all right.
3-0, yeah. It's never happened before. I don't know what to think. It's ridiculous.
Never happened for you, or we don't know that it's ever happened?
It's never happened for the faction, and it's never happened to me either. I've never been at a tournament and won 3 games ever. So,
with any faction, let alone
ever. So I feel quite good about it, to be honest. What can I say? I rolled well. That last game, it all come down to priority turn 3, really. I managed to tag his back objective for 3. To play, plays his army really well.
What has he brought?
Gloomspite. So yeah, I've enjoyed it. It was on a knife edge, that game all the way through, and I just managed to nick it at the end, and it was really close, because come turn 4 I didn't have anything really left on the board, and if he'd have got a double turn off, he could have maybe pushed it to a draw. Okay. But it was a good game, really good game. So enjoyed it massively.
So the dream then. The dream. 3-0 so far.
3 wins. I came to BOBO thinking 2 wins is my average. I'll be happy with that, and I've come away day 1 3-0.
So day 1 is 3-0. What does day 2 bring?
Oh, I'll lose both of them easy, because I know now I'm going to go up against some really horrendous stuff. So, but I'm looking forward to it anyway.
Well, I mean, we've had a lot of mirror matches, so a lot of the horrendous stuff has been parked. We've had we've had Dan Ford versus Jack Armstrong, and Dan's been knocked down.
Yeah.
So that's huge. We've got some big names, big players. I mean, not so much big, but a bit of a, Speckles has fallen by the wayside as well. I'll give you a bit of an update of that in a minute. But yeah, there's a lot of love going on behind. Rob's having a bit of a love-in with this guy. Okay, great. So we're going to now take a little break. I'm going to come back with a quick update before we wrap up for the day, and then we'll pick up tomorrow. But I've just got a very couple of little bits to come back with you. So I'll be back in a moment.
So, back to the table. Welcome back to the BOBO. Here we are in Lincoln, not particularly sunny, but we are here nonetheless. And looking at this, the game we're watching is the Daughters of Khaine, led by Ben Sava versus Joe Purcell and the Hedonites of Slaanesh. The Daughters of Khaine have put lots of scores on the board, having 10 to the measly 3 that the Hedonites have scored.
There's only 10 minutes left of the turn, so they probably won't get to finish, because this is only turn 3, and this is the very first turn of turn 3. But some interesting thing happened on the tabletop, which I think is just brilliant. So this on the right-hand side, the Keeper of Secrets had to pile in 3, and then it's got 3-inch claws, so to see if it was within range of that. What's nice is our table boss, Jonathan Etland, is also the head judge, so that's really easy to do. And both Ben and Joe were unsure as to whether or not you can get in. What was nice was, while John was measuring it, both Ben and Joe were just sat down. They were like, we don't care what the result is either way. So they just diced it off on a 4-up because it was so cool. John tried really hard to find it, and he was like, I can't call it. So they 4'd up it, and then they said, yeah, it is within range on a 6, in fact, so very in range. Cool. And then they did the activation. So I got to say, just some top-level sportsmanship, in my opinion, from both players.
Good. Yeah, it's great to see decisions being made, really, and people just accepting how they go. So, cool. That's great. Yeah,
So there's not going to be much left of the round, so it's going to be interesting to see where it ends up.
So the keeper has just done 10 damage into the cauldron. That's on the first activation. And right. Oh yes. So the keeper has got the cool rule where it can issue a challenge to a hero.
Which is an amazing rule.
If they refuse the challenge, they take D3 mortal wounds. If they accept the challenge, they get +1 to hit or some boon to one of their weapons.
Yeah.
But there's a chance that they can be slain outright. And Ben has accepted the challenge.
Ben's accepted it with the cauldron of blood.
Mad, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Joe Boom, if there's not time, both players are going to just decide who the winner is. They will not fall out about who they think is going to win this, I don't think. That's absolutely fine. It's cool that he's accepted the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really fun.
Mental.
I'm really into that.
This is the Fiends going into that unit of sisters in the centre.
So there are 3 Fiends left, am I right?
And they still can kick out a lot of
lot of damage. Luvo, thanks for joining us. Everyone, thanks for joining us live on Twitch. If you've been watching anywhere else, also thanks to you guys. It's been cool doing the coverage. Nathan, thank you for doing the coverage. Scrivo, thanks for pressing all the buttons.
It's good to see these games.
Jonathan, our table boss, thanks for all his hard work. Thank you for the hard work for everyone on the AOS Wargaming team, including the people watching. Sometimes it's just tense. I'm tense right now. I'm a little bit stressed by how this could go. Yeah. But I think the Keeper of Secrets is going to kill the Cauldron of Blood. I'm calling it.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance it'll kill the Cauldron before it gets to be sacrificed or whatever it is to the challenge. Be hilarious if it has, if it does succumb. Right, so this is the second activation from the Keeper piling in. And so he's already done 10 damage in the first round. So he should on. Okay. So apparently Ben has accepted the challenge because the Keeper is so beautiful to look at. The irony in that is Ben is the one that painted that Keeper, so he's been seduced by his own creation, as one could say.
Yeah, he has. Well, it's got to be hard, right? Every time we move on, it's like, God, that is a pretty model that I painted that I can see right now.
It's about to kick me in the dick.
Joe is very considerate about his dice rolls, isn't he?
He's
very thoughtful. I've never seen anyone hold dice so sensually as I've seen it before.
He's definitely perusing. Oh, he's just drawing it out, all these moments. He's savouring it.
Yeah, these delectable delights. That's what he's doing. I think it's because they both know that it's not going to go to time, so they're not rushing. No. Instead of rushing, they're just having a good time.
And all I hear from, and so the Keeper has just done. So the amount of damage output, just as an example, that was 27 damage into the Cauldron.
Wow, what, from the Keeper?
Yeah.
And that's not forgetting it has a 4-up save and a 5-up ignore on the Cauldron.
Yeah.
So, like, that's crazy. So that's after all of that.
Yeah. So
wow.
So like I said, there are certain builds on the Keepers which are just amazing. They can really just kick dick. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So while that combat's going on, we're going to find out what's happening with one of the most good-looking men in all of Age of Sigmar and Chucklebutty.
Oh, that was cruel. That was horrible. Right, I'm here with JJ. This time last year, not this time last year, it was a little later in the year last year, but...
Bobo.
Bobo?
Tournament. So Bobo was my first tournament about 5 or 6 months ago, and I just got hooked on the Bobo, and now I'm back at the the main event, if you like.
The main event. That's right. So since then, like when we talked to you back then, you were talking about moving to Nottingham and moving in with your girlfriend, right? Moving near your girlfriend.
So I moved down because of my girlfriend. So I've been down here for a bit. But I did say last time that I was going to try and get a job at GW. So I've got a job in Bugman's now, and I'll be moving about within that. So I got that cheeky 50% discount.
But so if his face is familiar, it's more than likely you've been in Bugman's probably too often. But just tell us about your day. Tell us how your games are gone. Take us through your games.
Well, game 1 I was against Skaven, and I'm a Skaven player. As you've seen, if you've seen me on Warhammer TV, getting beat with Skaven before the book. But so game 1.
Can I just say, I know Warhammer TV have kind of used you, but like you were with us first, right?
Yeah, you were my first.
Yes, JJ. Sorry, so carry on.
Yeah. So game 1, I managed to out-Skaven the enemy Skaven. So I picked that game up. It was just sort of, I made a few nice plays for like Skitter leaping my Corruptor in order to allow me to dreaded Plague his big unit of Storm Vermin. Done a lot of damage there. Skitter leaped a character to a gnaw hole, brought a unit through a gnaw hole. So the character that Skitter leaped forward would allow them to re-roll their charge. Plague Monks ran in, done their business. Yeah, just picked up the win. Game 2, I got Gristle Gored real hard. I'm quite happy with it, to be fair, because I had a practice game against roughly the same list yesterday, same mission, and I still lost. So I asked the boy today what I could have done different. He was like, not really much, to be honest. When they're rolling the 6s, and it's like 6 mortal wounds just bashing away at me. But that's fine. I'm going to take more.
Sometimes the dice just aren't with you, and you can do nothing about that, right?
Exactly. The guy was lovely though. So yeah, I'm just going to maybe bring a bit more shooting in my list if I can, just to try and for the next tournament, just because there will be a lot of feck, and I need something to deal with them because it's the only army that I really feel that there's a problem with for me. I've not played Khaine yet, so we'll see about that. And then game 3, because I lost game 2, I sort of went down a bit in the ranking, so I came up against Slaves of Darkness.
Slaves to Darkness. Apologies for any Slave to Darkness fans out there.
Oh, sorry, I'm not up on the IP. I'm just working Bugman's.
You work there!
Dwarves, not Dwarden. Was that? No, joking. But yeah, so I just grabbed the objectives. He killed a lot more of my guys because after turn 2, because turn 2, so he had he had a Thanquil in as an ally with a Warp Lightning Vortex. So he still had some and Archaeons, stuff like that. But I just teleported my Plague Monks through the gnaw hole, Skitter leaped my Corruptor through, which gives them to reroll. Cast Cogs, get them +2 to charge. They've got +1 natively for Plague Monks, so it's +3 to charge, re-rolling. Came in, stabbed Thanquil in the back. Sorry, Thanquil. I know you're a legend. I've been reading the Gotrek and Felix books, but still. Killed him, so I was winning on points by miles. So I just let us like smack each other about, and then he got a lot more kill points, but I got the win, so that's the main thing. Yeah.
You know, winning's winning and all that sort of stuff. So great.
Archaeon, right? The big man of the apocalypse, or whatever his name is, survived on 1 singular wound, and I was slightly disappointed because I wanted to kill him with a clan rat, but I will.
Bro, so we're just hearing that is time. I'm going to hand back to Rob and Nathan to give you a wrap up of the game. I'm going to go. You guys have asked for a bit of an update on Clint. I'm going to go find him and find out where he's hiding. He can't hide all that well. I'm going to go find him and I'll bring you an update. And but right now, right back to Rob and Nathan.
Hey, welcome back to the game. So as you can see, the Cauldron dead, absolutely hammered. Marathi has moved from the objective here over here to take over the to try and
yeah, she's going to go put a threat on the Fiends, the remaining Fiends in the centre of the board. We've still got an Enraptress in the centre as well. But Yeah, Ben's withdrawing there. There's only the one fiend left now, though, I see. So,
Yes. But don't forget, Joe's going to be sat now on a lot of depravity points. He's going to have picked up 12 just from the cauldron alone.
Yeah.
So his ability to threaten objectives, like over here, and then down here, Ben is running because Ben is trying to consolidate points for the later turns. He really is it.
So he's got 16 depravity at the moment in his pocket.
Yeah.
Wow.
So 16 depravity points.
Yeah, that's
wow.
pretty sweet. So yeah.
Okay, so he genuinely could put enough stuff back on the board to get going.
Yeah, I think what Joe wants to do is clear out that hero in the center there, so that Joe, when he does do his summoning, he's limited to only being able to summon from the keeper. So again, you limit the amount of objectives that the summoned units can actually get involved.
So one of the interesting things is the daisy chain summoning that you can do. So you could summon an Enraptress as an example, and then you can summon from the Enraptress. So you can do 12 and 12. So you kind of have, depending on how many depravity points you get, and obviously there's not loads there, 16 to do that. But if you do have enough, you can daisy chain out. I don't think that's going to be possible in this situation. But
that's a really cool tactic.
Really cool tactic. Yeah, if you're sat in enough depravity points, you've got like a 36-inch depravity summoning range. You just put an Enraptress down, I mean, you would have had to have got one of those Enraptress. They sell them as a camp pack now, so you're fine. Yeah. For a certain stage, though, that would have been a real issue. But it's exciting watching these two players play. This has been some top-tier Warhammer. And I'm excited to find out the resolution, I'm hoping you guys watching at home, and thank you for joining us. As always, this has been brought to you by everyone on our Patreon and Twitch. So if you subscribe to Twitch or you subscribe to our Patreon, that massively helps us be able to produce content like this. So we appreciate everyone who already has. Like Velatron already donated 10,000 bits today, so big shout to you.
Awesome.
And Tristan's already done that as well, so you guys are great.
Yeah, so there's Marathi having a go at the Enraptress in the center. So do you think Ben, looking back at it, might have been more tempted to try and put that keeper to bed earlier on in the game?
Yeah. When he elected not to attack it, so he could have been outside, but then there's no way he attacks it and didn't lose half the unit, and then
well, he can still attack it from outside of 6, so you can, because you got the 6-inch pile in. If you're 6.5,
no, he could have just charged the. He could have charged. So previously, Marathi was here. Not Marathi, sorry. The keeper sequence was here, and there was a large block of what are they called now? Demonettes.
Yeah.
So Ben had his unit here, and then he elected to charge here. However, what he could have done is been 6.5 out in the distance. And then piled in. Nate, you're so good at that 6-inch piling. Please never play a good army.
That way he would have been able to surround the keeper with quite a few of those Sisters of Slaughter. And Slaanesh I think we're going to find them out to be fairly choppy, but they're not exactly very survivable. And I do think the keeper could have gone down. That would have been more telling, I think, than taking out the Demonettes, because not only do you get rid of a serious threat, which, I mean, fair enough, the Demonettes are also a serious threat in a fight, but you get rid of a locus point where the Hedonites can summon more models, and it's the new summoned units that have been that are going to be the ones that are going to get the gold, get the points. So,
Mr. Hector, thank you for subscribing for 9 months. He says, like the Keeper Secrets, you are awesome. I say you're awesome, Mr. Hector, as is all the people watching. Thanks. I'd say the late game summoning potential here is really big. I won't lie to you, Nate. I think it's actually quite impressive. I think it's quite close in this situation, or it's getting closer, which I think is a thing. I'm very excited to find out what's going to happen. We're going to find out if the game's going to go to time. But for all of our Aussie fans, including Mr. Dan Unsupervised, the gorgeous, gorgeous man, we're going to find out how the only Aussie at the party Is this what it feels like? You know, how the only Aussie at the party is done at the event, and we're going to go live. We're going to go live now to Adam and Clint to find out what it's like being great.
That's right, we are going to find out what it's like being great, because I've got Clint here. You guys have been asking in the chat, a few of you have asked how he's been getting on, so I don't know, past first game, second game? Tell me how your day's gone.
Right, 1 win, 2 losses. So, went down just 23-22 to Stu West from Northern Invasion. Priority roll, sorted that. And then played James Thompson with Sylvaneth. And once again, really tight game. I think it was, once again, the priority roll. I managed to get all my characters quickly onto the objectives, and then they got smashed off, but yeah. But I got a couple of points up, so that was all right.
James, a few of you might remember, if you watched the coverage from BOBO Summer last year, it was James's first tournament. So he plays, I think, at the local Imps. I think he plays, he's in the Imps, which is kind of the Lincoln group, and it's part of the big group that organised this lot. And it was the first tournament last year. He's done loads since. But yeah, if the name sounded familiar, that's why. Sorry, Clint, Karen.
Yeah. And then I just played a guy called Shane with Iron Jaws, and despite absolutely destroying the Maw Crusher with Graveguard, I just couldn't quite claw back. He had 1 point advantage, and I just couldn't quite get enough to get that 1 point back.
Before you tell me definitively, did you just get beaten by Iron Jaws with Legions of Nagash?
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Oh, Clint.
But I have said before that I'm one of Australia's most mediocre players, so I've never claimed to be good, so.
Fair enough. So, Dan Sway, Dispossessed Dan, if you're watching this, you know, I mean, he's one of yours. He's not, you know, we love you, Clint. We'll claim you as one of ours. I've no problem with that. But unfortunately, you've let Australia down.
Dan's a Canadian now. He doesn't count.
Oh wow. Okay. With that, we're going to hand back to Rob and Nathan. We're all wrapped up on all the tables behind me. The counter is 0, so I'm going to hand back to them. They're going to do a bit of a wrap up, and then we'll be finished for the day, and we'll catch you again tomorrow.
Hello, welcome back. So we're on, thank you very much, Adam, you're great. We're really excited to see how this game culminates, because we're going to play it right through till the end. So hopefully we'll get some more interviews sometime soon. But if you've just joined us, you've seen Joe playing against Ben. You've seen Joe playing against, you've seen Joe playing against Ben, and both, and turn 3 has just happened. Priority into turn 4. Turn 4 is going straight up. It goes straight up to Joe. Joe won the priority and he's taking it. Christian Martinson,
wow.
Thank you so much for donating $10 to the show. You're brilliant.
Yeah, Christian, we miss you.
We miss
Where
you,
are
Christian. We miss you.
So, Joe has got another chance to show us his skills and what the Hedonites of Slaanesh can get up to.
Yes. So let's see what he can do here, realistically.
Okay, so he's tried to cast the mirror spell this time.
Yeah.
Failed to do that again. So.
So Ben genuinely doesn't have much left, but he does have some scary units left, and that scary unit is Marathi.
Marathi's really good in this situation.
However, it's not Ben's turn, it's Joe's turn. Joe's measuring to see if he can get the Keeper over to threaten that objective, start dragging those points back.
Well, just remember, what are the Slaanesh famous for? It's how fast they can fucking move. So let's find out if this thing can burn rubber all the way across the board and start threatening some of those other objectives.
I think it's going to be really, really quick. Like, he's got to make some decisions. We're going to go through to the end. We held them up a bit when we did priority rolls and some other stuff. So, and they've been treasures about that. So they're just going to play through. It's very, 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 very close. I think that priority then would have cinched the game. I think Ben was in a commanding position. As you can tell from the points, he's in a commanding position. But it's all, Joe could be bringing it back. And like we talked about, I did say this, I'm not saying I called it, Nath. I don't want to be that guy, but I did say at the start that it really could be a late game finish and being advantageous to Joe in the late game.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, I do think summoning armies obviously do have advantages towards the end of the game. And armies like Legions of Nagash, which are just really hard to break down and kill. So
Yeah, late game summoning, especially as opposed to replication, is really tense.
but it is just a case of with armies like the Daughters of Khaine, it's just building up such a commanding lead. Like you say, if they had won that priority, they would have been able to score again fairly heavily, and that would probably have put him too far ahead. So the mere fact that Joe's won the priority does mean that he has got an actual. He can try and make a game of it, although he is sort of behind the curve still, I would say.
I think so. I think it's going to be very close. So while we see, there we go. I told you about the double summon. There you've seen the Enrapturus go down, and then you're going to see another unit summoned onto the objective at the back. That is to start. That's to give Marathi options that she's going to have to deal with.
Well, yeah. The thing is that right in the top right-hand corner, which is right up here, we see a little unit of Canary Heartrenders. And they are the reason why this objective is red and not blue. So that's the thing. Joe has to spread himself all over the board, trying to get objectives here, there, and everywhere.
Ixtab in the chat says
that's where the strength of the summoning is.
Yeah, Ixtab in the chat says I think you'll see hero heavy summoning list from Slaanesh doing really well, and I agree with that. But talking about hero heavy, a man who's a bit of a hero in my heart, James Tinsdale, is about to be interviewed by Mr. Chucklebutty himself.
That's right, I've got James here with me now. James, you've had a pretty good day.
I've had a very interesting
Ups and downs.
Yeah, ups and downs, interesting day. 3 great games.
Yep.
Yeah?
Sure, let's say 3 great games. So let's start right at the very start. First game.
First game, I had Mr. Tim Unwin with Khorne, basically replicating what my eels do with the knights. 20 Chaos Knights can charge 2s and 3s -1/2 damage. So it's a bit cagey, but I want to keep priority and then manage to take all the knights off. So major win on that one. But Tim was lovely, with a great game, and I Khorne like a blind spot. You know, I know the rules, but I don't know them. On the table, you think, what does that do?
And they're fairly fresh, right?
Yeah, and that's like, that man in Prance does what? And they've got all new rules, and all the rules have been tweaked. With a new tome, so it's like I'm trying to because I thought the Bloodstone could run and charge, but it's just +3 to run all charge. They can't run and charge innately now, so I was like, oh, didn't know that when I deployed though. But that was my first game.
Right, let's move straight on to the third game, because you've just played the third game. That was against Miles Hewitt. So it was Miles with Skaven. How did that game go?
Yeah, lovely game. Miles, amazing opponent. Really interesting to see the Skaven's hide with all the spells. First time for me playing them.
A lot of spells as well, right?
Yeah, so many spells. Like, so many spells. And then, turn 1 I charged with my eels, took all the rats off. I knew I was playing a 3-turn game, so, I just got ahead early, and then he spelled me off. But it was too late for Miles. But it was really fun, though. It's one of the trade-offs for Skaven. They are high drop. So in a mission like that, it's actually a bit easier for me, because in total commitment, you're isolated on either side. You know what I mean? You're quite far away. You can't really support your own. So you've also got to fight in 2s, and my eels obviously can fight on their own. So it suited me more. Yeah. But Miles was amazing. We had a great game, and to be fair, he killed everything but one elf.
That one elf was the Tidecaster?
No, it was a Thrall from the battalion. He got the Tidecaster because he charged into the Screaming Bell to do 1 wound, didn't, and then he killed her.
Right, okay.
In return.
Okay, so right now I think you're looking like the top Ideneth player, I think, at the moment. We'll talk about your second game in a moment. Just take us through your list, because you've got a battalion in there, and you've got quite a lot of eels in there, right? 18 eels?
Yeah, 18. I've got the classic standard 18, and then I've got
standard 18 is basically made standard by you.
It is. But then I've got the Nomati Court battalion, which is 100, 210 Reavers, 210 Thralls, and a Soul Render, the hero that no one knows with the big fish hook in the armor. But it allows me to get to 5 drops. So to your point, it was really important in the game with Miles, because if I didn't have the battalion, he would have gone first. So having that decision is a really big key in those games. So that's why I take it. You know, to be at 5, it's as low as the book can really go, unless you go with Killian Corpse. But for me, I think that the balance is there. So it's it's what I'm comfortable playing. And I would love to win best in race, but we've got a lot of good Deepkin bros here, and I know that Mr. Barton and some other guys are doing well as well. And we've got 2 games to play tomorrow. But
Yeah, Seb's done quite well as well. He's done 2 and 1.
So if I drop one tomorrow, I was saying to Seb, I was like, if you go 3 and 1, you're doing better than I am. So yeah.
So right, let's talk about your second game then, because it seemed like a fairly straightforward game most of the time.
Yeah. First 4 turns, amazing. We're a little bit pushed for time. For turn 5, we only have about 10 minutes. I think we have more time than I realised. I won the priority roll. We established, a few things, and the key thing was the Phoenix that Chris had on the far left objective. If it died, I would win the game. And I charged it with 9 eels and 2 eels. There were some sequencing issues for time because I forgot to charge the 2 eels. I declared I was going to. Yeah. I just forgot to roll it. So I did the 9 eels first, and then Chris argued that, I hadn't charged. So I said, that's fine. I said, not really big on the tape backs, but I was like, because it's a game-deciding thing, if you'll allow me. Because, I'd allowed quite a few things during the game as well. And as a Chris. So.
Generally, there would be. You kind of have I've done something like that sequence. I'm like, no, nuts, because I got distracted doing something else. You just go, you know what, you carry on, and then you got some give and take, right? So, yeah, okay.
Because I want Chris to have a turn 5 as well, equal turns. And he said, fine, so I rolled in, killed the bird. We had a discussion afterwards about sequencing, and even though perhaps in that moment I'd won the game, we decided to call it a draw. Because I think that's a fair result, because I forgot to charge. So, I declared it, but I didn't roll it. So, it's fair. It is what it is.
Yeah, I guess it is a mistake. You pay the price. It's quite a heavy price for a mistake. Bit of a shame, but there's still nothing saying you won't go sort of top 5, top 4 in the end. And like you say, here especially, you've got the faction trophies to go for, which means it's not out yet.
And I was really, I just obviously on the table next to Chris. So me and Chris, we know each other. We talked through a lot. It's fine. But he got paid Gristlegore, and that was a fate worse than what happened with us. So he lost to Gristlegore. So he was like, I'd much rather have just taken the loss and played something that wasn't Gristlegore. So it just shows you it can go either way, because I could have played Gristlegore. So.
Brill, James, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Adam look good in his shirt. Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to cut back to Rob and Nathan. It's the last you'll see me today, and I'll be back with you tomorrow.
Cool. Hello, welcome back. What a wonderful, great pair. What a great pair of men that are there on the tabletop. So we've moved on from Joe's turn. Joe's still on the 10 points. We're on to Ben's turn now. So Joe made a pretty poor charge over here. He made a 5-inch charge with the keeper to go into here, and it killed the
little hag queen.
The hag queen I heard from the tabletop it was close to 1 billion damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're gonna kill something, you may as well kill it dead.
Absolutely. So now I think Ben is just going to look to consolidate with Marathi. Marathi, I think, is going to go into the Keeper of Secrets, nuke the Keeper of Secrets, and then that should be game, because that's really Joe's only mobile piece. The only thing to talk about here is the Enraptress, who was there to summon points. I think it's going to be really hard for Joe to actually bring those points back. So if the Keeper goes in and does the killing, I think that's game.
Yeah. Well, so Marathi's going to go into the Keeper, put the hurt on her. Those witch elves in the centre, they'll be Sisters of Slaughter, won't they? They're going to go across and try and finish off that Enraptress. And we've still got the units of Heartrenders zapping around all over the place, just throwing their spears and having a great time. Joe has complained to Ben about the fact that he's playing so well.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Just stop playing so well, and then I might have a fucking chance.
That's a solid tactic all the way across the world, right?
Yeah.
I've always wanted people to stop playing well. I'm not going to lie.
So these will be the shooting phase from the Heartrenders.
Yeah, so Ixtab saying Slothful Super in turn 5, and then it's game on, he reckons. But I personally think that the Keeper of Secrets is dead to Marathi. I reckon that's... Although I've seen Marathi do some pretty... I've seen her do some amazing damage and do some medium damage, all in all, as the game... Oh, you know, as...
Yeah, she is quite swingy, isn't she? It just depends on how tanky that Keeper of Secrets is.
There we go. Oh, so the charge is in, so the charge not being failed is a thing.
Sexy versus 60.
Now we got to see if there's going to be a 2-up. I think it is. Yeah, it's over a 2-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marathi has got how many wounds left? As we'll find out from the tabletop there.
Jonathan, how many wounds has Marathi got?
So we'll find that out from our table boss, Jonathan.
So she's taken 5 so far.
So she can't die this turn.
No.
She can't die this turn. It's whether or not the Keeper of Secrets, who has taken the Keeper of Secrets taken any wounds. That's the key part. That's the key. So this fight is big. Let's know who you're rooting for, blue or red. You voting for Joe and the Keeper of Secrets, or Ben and the Hedonites.
So the Keeper has taken 4 wounds so far.
Oh, okay. I personally think the Keeper's going down, Nath. I won't lie to you.
Yeah, I think. Well, that's the feeling that people get about Slaanesh is that they're not there for their tankiness. They're there for their speed and their stabbiness.
Oh, Elko Rub, thank you so much for the bits donation, for the great coverage.
Just how, if they live up to that or not, if Marathi can murderize that Keeper.
I think Marathi is going to murderize that Keeper, but let's see. But however, the Keeper's going to get to go first, which is hopefully drop Marathi down a profile to make her a little less killy. There's a lot of love for Reds, although there's a big... Frank's coming big for blue. So it's all to play for.
So the Gotor did a maximum of 3 damage to Marathi.
I don't think you could call her that, but okay. On the tabletop.
Jonathan has been feeding that word into my head all the time. Now it's stuck in there.
You're trying to say real words, and then our table boss has been intentionally fucking with you. Come on, Ben, accept the gift. Did he issue a challenge? That's the question. Did the Keeper of Secrets issue a challenge to Marathi?
Oh, yeah, that would be an interesting
That's an interesting one. And then did Marathi take it?
No. That's all I get.
Oh,
no.
With it all on the line, no.
No challenge, not accepted.
That would have been so fucking heroic, though, taking it. I mean, terrible tactical choice, but it would have been a heroic call, I think. I won't lie to you.
Come on, we want to see the fight between Marathi and... so obviously, the Keeper has done all it can do, which is just the 3 wounds. We're really wanting to see if Marathi can do the dude.
So here we go. Here are the saves. We're going to start seeing saves from Marathi. So those, not Marathi. So no, this is the damage coming. Oh my God! So is Marathi currently attacking? That's the question. Yes or no?
So the Keeper is left on 4 wounds.
Oh! Fuck! Fuck! We're going to get a priority roll dice cam. It's going to be so fucking tense.
Well,
priority roll dice cam. Priority roll dice cam for turn 5.
Well, here we got the sisters first.
Oh, okay.
Going to go in and try and get rid of that Enraptress or Entraptress.
Yeah, so there's a charge there. There's a combat. Always rooting for Benjamin. Lovely fellow is indeed, says Sarah Furniture. This is so close, everyone. So Ben's going to score points for the top, and oh no, Ben's got this, hasn't he? Hasn't he got the left, top, and right objective all at the same time?
Yeah.
He's ahead on points.
He's so far ahead on points now. I don't see how Joe can ever get back.
If the Enraptress dies, that also kills it as well. So then that's game. Yeah, that's it.
Because I mean, at the moment, the maximum you can score a turn is 8 points, and Joe would need Ben to score no points this turn or the next turn.
And he's going to score.
And he's about to score loads of points. So.
All right, cool. All right then, John, we can come back to us and we can say goodbye to everyone because that is the end. And Ben is going to win the event, Nath. Not the event. Well,
there's a chance. He
Clip,
might.
clip that in case he does.
Freudian
I'll
slip.
look like a genius. Yeah, instead of like a redneck hillbilly trying to talk about Warhammer. So listen, everyone. Nathan, thank you so much for doing the coverage with us.
Thank you, sir. It's been a good day of Warhammer.
Yeah, it's been a good start to the day. Obviously, Saturdays are always the fun day. That tomorrow's when we get into top 10 tables. It's when we get into like who could win the event. There's also Adam. Don't forget Chuckabutty doing a wonderful job out there. He's going to be letting you know which of the people could be winning best in faction. Yeah, out of 30 or 31 players for the different faction awards. You guys who have been watching live, you've been brilliant. John with the buttons have been great. Jonathan, who's been doing the button pushing.
Feeding us poisonous words in our ears.
Yes, his tabletop, he's been great. John, who has been running the event. John, who has also been running the event. So all of those Jonathans have been doing.
Those guys are scary.
They are scary. But you guys have been wonderful too. Thank you again, as always, for joining us. Don't forget to join us Sunday, Bravery One British Open. Well, at least the UK's largest ever Age of Sigmar event. It's been wicked to be here. You had a good time?
Yeah, it's been great. It's
Okay.
good.
You guys in the Twitch chat have been amazing. Thank you to everyone on Patreon and Twitch who supports Honest Wargamer. It's wicked, and it lets us do stuff like this. We've been able to add loads of features. We're trying to provide the world's best T-Sports coverage, and I think we're doing okay.
Yeah, it's looking sweet. I must say, your overlays and all of that stuff looking pretty.
Yeah, but
darn
I also got a button badge that says "I love lasers." Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's obvious, isn't it?
Tomorrow's start time will be about 10 p.m. UK time, so join us then. Don't forget, it's going to be. There's some big players, there's some big armies. Will Slaanesh win an event? Who knows? You guys have been wonderful, and thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.